All right. We're 2 hours late, but better late than never, essentially. Uh, we are here. Xbox 2 is live, episode 356, I think. I'm not sure which one it is. I never know. That's all for Jez to decide. I'm Randall Thor 19, the man with the million. And we have Jez Corden here, executive editor, or whatever his job title is at Windows Central. The man.
Yep, that's me.
Who requested we delay the show for 2 hours because he was a tired boy. So we're live now, 2 hours later than normal, but we're still here. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody's doing well. And how you doing, Jez? You all right? You doing good?
I'm rock and rolling, man.
Yeah.
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Can't complain. Yeah, it was a busy day today, so I was like, it came to about 6 p.m. and I was like, I need to have a nap, or otherwise the podcast will be 90% Rand.
We'd have to. Well, the podcast is already 90% Rand, and Rand already does all the heavy lifting. So I mean,
oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay, okay. That's what you want to believe. Fine, but yeah, I figured I should probably have a little nap there, and yeah, we got there in the end.
Yes, we are here, and we got a lot of stuff here to talk about.
Sure do.
Xbox making a mistake, or did they?
Or did they?
Was it a mistake, or was it a glimpse at the future?
The future.
Yeah, no. There's a lot of things going on here. I'm currently playing, as you guys can see on screen, Assassin's Creed Shadows. Although this isn't live gameplay, I recorded this the other day. Because I am about 50 hours into Assassin's Creed, and I got a lot of things to say about this game. Like, when the embargo lifted, I think I was like 30 hours in, and I just wasn't anywhere close to being finished. So I was like, I can't really do a video because there's so much more to this game than kind of like at the time. Like, I didn't even get Yasuke until like 20 hours in. So I was like, I don't know if I have enough experience to really like lay it all, like giving an opinion about the game, but I've played a lot more of it. So we'll be talking about that as well as some of the other things surrounding the game. But I don't know. How was your week? Was it all right? Did you do anything interesting? I mean, I know you're not on vacation anymore. Hawaii for those 2 weeks.
Yeah. Hawaii was pretty great. I think I needed a break, but it was quite an intense vacation with hiking and stuff.
Yeah.
And anyone who's seen a picture of me knows I'm not exactly the hiking type, right? So yeah, it was quite a lot of exercise, but you need some exercise every now and then. But week's been pretty good mostly. Had some doing a lot of administrative work this week.
We also did a podcast with The Verge's Tom Warren, Jez's mortal enemy, his nemesis, some say.
My nemesis. My nemesis.
Somehow we were able to get him on after him and Jez had a British spat on Twitter about Keenan or Kenan. And people thought there was some bad blood brewing between you two.
Yeah,
so we actually had Tom on. We've been wanting to have Tom on for a long time on Xbox 2+1. We finally got that accomplished. It's available right now for Patreon members if you want to take a look-see. And Tom did drop there's some gems Tom talked about. We talked about, the Gears collection. We talked about Gears E-Day. We talked about... It's kind of funny, we recorded it, and we were talking, I think we directly even talked about Steam being on Xbox, and then the next day, I think the UI mock-up came out, and, we talked about the Xbox future and the Ubisoft. He even dropped I don't know if this is a spoiler, but we even brought up, like, Halo Master Chief, coming to potentially other platforms, and he sort of implied that it won't be the collection; it'll be a single game. Wasn't that kind of the vibe you were getting from when he was talking about it?
it did seem like that. So there's a bit of Halo news in there, and
Yeah.
there's good stuff. It's up on Patreon now, but it's going public. I set it to go public on Monday afternoon. Since we might do an Xbox 2 Ultimate on Tuesday, I figured next week. But yeah, it's all go in the land of Xbox podcasting.
Yeah.
And Solid Theed in chat says settled over a cup of tea. Yep, I've got my cup of tea right here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's how we do it in Britain.
So make sure you guys do us a huge favor. Hit the like button, please. Subscribe to the channel if you're new or haven't already. And let everybody know that we are live after this 2-hour delay. I don't know how long the show's going to be today. Like, when you look at it, like, there isn't really much that sort of happened this week, but somehow we usually make these shows last. You know, I always get DMs from people being like, "Oh man, you make my workday go by so fast. By the time I'm done with the Xbox 2, half my workday is finished." You get those 4-hour shows and like 8-hour shifts. It's like, yeah, I guess. Or like I'm driving. We get a lot of messages from truckers. They're like, I put it on, and I'm driving, delivering the cargo.
Shout out to the truckers.
So
I used to want to be a trucker when I was younger.
That doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me, really. I don't know why it doesn't surprise me.
I don't know. I got this like romanticized idea of the open roads, driving a huge machine. I really like. Well, I think most little boys, when they're like little kids, they really love like big machines and like tractors and big 18-wheelers and stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the weird one. But yeah, shout out to everyone working in that industry, and yeah, we do tend to somehow manage to extract all the juice out of even the smallest topics, and half the time it's because we end up having a debate because you have the incorrect take.
I usually have the correct take. You're the one who usually has the wrong take.
No, that's fake news. You have the incorrect take, and then I have to correct you. Then we have to have back and forth, and then eventually you capitulate and just admit that, oh yeah, Jez, you were right all along. That's usually how it goes, right?
No, that's not usually how it goes.
Right.
Most of the time, it's like, man, Rand, you really showed me. My intellect is just not as vast and it's definitely not as superior to yours. And listening to you is like listening to God speak. Thank you for informing me about how things really are. And when instead of talking over you most of the time, I'm gonna sit here and listen to you and become all the better for it. Wiser, some would say.
Oh man. Oh man. Rand is living in a fancy land.
Yeah.
But anyways, speaking of fancy lands, Rand,
yes,
we've got a bit of housekeeping to do.
Yeah, we have a new sponsor. We are still with 4XP Gaming, the drink.
Yep.
So if anybody wants to buy some of their products, you can always use code XB2 to get 15% off. Links in the description for that. And we thank them for sponsoring Xbox 2 in general. But we do have a new sponsor, Jez, and it's one that you've been using extensively. Because you've been talking to me about it for like a month.
It is.
So
yeah, so we set up this sponsorship deal quite a little while ago, and obviously it was before I went to Hawaii, so I was like, we need to start the sponsorship a little bit after the fact. So because I'm on vacation, but the whole time I was there, I was using it, and I've well and truly fallen in love with it. So here's our sponsor. It's Surfshark VPN. Have you guys ever tried to watch a movie, catch up on a series, or explore new content, only to find that it's unavailable in your region? What if I told you there's an affordable way to break through those geographical barriers and access the content you love, no matter where you are? That's where Surfshark VPN comes in. Now, this was particularly useful for me in Hawaii because, Rand, as you know, Netflix in America doesn't have the full complement of WWE shows like Netflix in Europe does.
Plus, Netflix here in the US has ads. And Netflix internationally does not.
Does not have ads.
So
I was like, I want to watch SmackDown, but I can't. So the Surfshark VPN came in absolutely clutch because it was like, oh yeah, I'll just Surfshark VPN, set my VPN to UK, and then boom, I got my UK home Netflix,
Is it really
got all
that?
my
Is it really
content.
that simple? Because I've always wondered about
Really is
using
that
a
simple.
VPN because um, just mentioned WWE, but they're doing their overseas tour right now. So like SmackDown is live right now for Netflix International. But if you're in the
Yeah,
US, it airs
you gotta
tonight
wait.
on USA Network and you have to wait. So you could
Spoilers, man.
technically just sign up for Surfshark. I think that they're offering a huge deal, like 86% off a 2-year deal, essentially,
Yep.
right? And if you wanted to, you could essentially VPN your way and access Netflix International. You still need a Netflix account, of course, but you'd be able to watch that live instead of having to wait. And there's obviously a lot more uses than that, but that was just one I could think
Yeah.
off the top of my head. So,
I mean that is like one of the main uses, for regular folk, But it really is that easy. Like it's just a browser extension. There's also an app which will cover your whole PC. But if you just wanted to cover your web browser, which is how I was using it, I just downloaded the extension for Microsoft Edge. It also works with Chrome or any other major browser, and then you just log in, and then you select your country, and then boom, you your entire computer now believes it's in the United Kingdom. And Surfshark VPN is based in the Netherlands, so there's no data retention laws there. Your ISP will never even know that you're using a VPN, and they also use RAM-based servers, no logs, and everything's completely cleared. Like the way RAM works, right? It's
mm-hmm.
not like storage retention system. Just everything just gets wiped every day. So the like if you're ever worried about like I don't know Netflix suing you or something. Not that I think there's no law against using a geo restriction removing tools anyway. I don't think. But if you're ever worried about that kind of thing, no logs, Netherlands based, completely safe. So Surfshark VPN is like your personal passport to the internet. Let you bypass those annoying geo blocks and access streaming libraries from all over the globe. Want to watch US exclusives? Dive into UK dramas? You could get BBC iPlayer as well. I use it for that too, because I don't get BBC iPlayer in Germany. So, like, if I want to watch, like, I don't know, the Dragon's Den or something, I really like Dragon's Den. I have to use a VPN in Germany, so it's really great for that too. And also if you want streaming the Crunchyroll stuff, which is available in some animes available in some countries and not others, so on and so forth. With Surfshark, it's all just one click away. You can enjoy unlimited entertainment without having to worry about the restrictions. But here's the thing, Rand. Surfshark is not just about unlocking content. It also makes sure your online presence stays safe and secure. Every time you connect, your data is encrypted, your browsing is protected, and prying eyes, whether they're hackers, advertisers, or even your ISP, are kept completely out of your business. It's like having a personal bodyguard for your digital life. Surfshark VPN is based in the Netherlands using RAM-based servers, also without data retention laws, meaning no logs, no activity data to sell to third parties, keeping your data fully private. So now, let's talk value. We've got an exclusive deal just for Xbox 2 podcast listeners. You hit the link in the description, you'll get a massive 86% off a 2-year plan, plus a few extra months completely free. That's 2 full years of unlimited streaming, airtight security, and total online freedom, all for a fraction of the regular price. So don't wait. Click the link in the description and take control of your online experience with Surfshark VPN. And thanks a ton to Surfshark for sponsoring this podcast. But yeah, I love Surfshark. I've switched all my VPN provision over to Surfshark. And if you want to check them out, links in the description. Supports the podcast too, and also keeps your internet connection secure. And Erodimus asks, does Surfshark work with xCloud? Yeah, it does. One of the things that I noticed with Surfshark over the previous VPN provider I was using is that it feels a lot, because obviously when you're tunneling through a VPN, it can introduce extra points of latency, right? I didn't get any of that with Surfshark, and I tested xCloud with it specifically to test the latency, and it was as if I was using it like natively. So I've been very impressed with the service. One thing me and Rand always talked about when we started doing sponsorships is that we'd never recommend a product that we didn't actually love. Which is why we've never done like the Raid Shadow Legends or anything like that, even though we've been offered it. But this is something I genuinely recommend, so definitely check it out.
Yeah.
And that's today's sponsor.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much to Surfshark. I've been hearing about it for the last month from Jez constantly, so it's nice for you to actually, go on and talk about it. But we also have the wonderful Patreon members who support what we do on patreon.com/XB2, which you can join there and get the early access to the Tom Warren interview, or just talk we did with him about Xbox in general and some of the stuff going on there. Like Jess says, hopefully we'll have another Xbox 2 Ultimate next week, which will be exclusive to Patreon. Question and answer thread is up. If anybody wants to drop a question in there, we'll answer those at the end of the show like we always do. But we got the shout out tier here for the Xbox 2 MVPs. We got Ethan Linhairs, VA, Resin Force, iMike Zero, Tier, Shrapnel, Inner Machine, Just James 93, Holy Dark Death, Steve Stompy, 09C Mine, James Wiseau, Trickster for Trey, Laser Wolf, Battered Haddock, Army Dude 52C, Foreign Object, RS Donks, Silas, James Moore, Fantasticals, Katriox, Bright Tundra 1, Discarded Caboose, Justin Duell, Frank Mariano, Sean Kramer, PB Broking, Asa TN Madison, Governor Grimm, DZ Huffin, Wagerman, Pat Rock, The Scarecrow 121, Darren Torpy, Briggs, Country, Prof JJJ, and Wolfgang KPZ. Thank you guys. Appreciate you, always continuing to support me and Jez here on the Xbox 2 podcast. So, Jez.
So, Rand.
What is on your front of your mind right now? What is the thing you've been thinking about the most this week? Anything you want to discuss first? Out of all the things that have happened, is there anything that is kind of bubbling up? I mean, you did. I mean, maybe we could start here because you did write an article about the ABK stuff. I don't know if that's something you want to.
Which ABK stuff?
You kind of wrote an article about Microsoft, how like Microsoft has been slow to parcel out the ABK content, the Game Pass, and all those sort of things.
I get you.
Have you heard anything behind the scenes? Did anybody from Xbox reach out to you and be like, "Hey, listen, this is what's going on"? Have you heard anything about that, or are they kind of just keeping their yams shut about it?
Yams.
They're yams. Yeah.
The yams. I've never heard that one. But the reason I wrote that was because I think I said I would write about it. While ago.
I think you did. Yeah.
And I felt like I owed that to people who was hoping that I'd highlight that, because one thing I like to do on Windows Central is I like to amplify the concerns of the community, right? And this is something I hear a lot from people about, which is like, where's Prototype, where's Singularity, where's a lot of these classic Activision games that everyone kind of expected would come. And I think it was you that reminded me about it initially, because you were talking to me on Discord about how Microsoft even said in their original blog post,
they sure did,
that they said in their blog post something that
they will put as many games as possible into Game Pass at the close.
Yes, that was it.
Which didn't happen.
I was kind of like, okay, reading that, it's kind of like, well, they've kind of contradicted themselves there. So being the good little journalist I am, I'm gonna call out, speak truth to power, and call out when they go back on their word, right? So I did have a look at it, did look into it, and also shout out to Crusader on Twitter. There's someone else who's asked me about this quite frequently. And
Logan
he posts like
constantly talks about it as well.
Yeah, he posts his regular thread on Twitter asking Microsoft to reopen backwards compatibility. That's kind of part of this whole thing, right? It's like part of it's like backwards compatibility program that people really loved and sort of fallen by the wayside, and the other part of it is that Microsoft kind of said they would be exploring this stuff for Game Pass, and they told regulators they would do
I
this.
don't think they ever said they would reopen back compat.
No. But like put in as many games as you can
Sure.
in a vague
And
kind of
we
statement.
even brought up this question. We even brought this up with Tom, and Tom had a take that was kind of like, you don't know how those he even brought up a potential thing like, oh, maybe the old Call of Duties aren't in there because they had some sort of, a deal with some of the voice, like, because we don't know how the contracts were set up. Because honestly, and I could be completely wrong about this, and actually I want to be wrong about this, right? The more as time progresses, the less I think the older Call of Duty games will ever come to Game Pass. I'm not really sure if Microsoft even wants those games in the service, actually. Now, but they may have wanted them in there in 2021 when they were negotiating with Activision, thinking about how, oh man, we put all those games in here. This is what's gonna do for Game Pass, and then they bought the company, and then as time went on, clearly I think something shifted. Line of thinking shifted from the initial announcement of, hey, we're going to add all these games, as many as we can. I mean, and they even talked about it with regulators about one of the reasons why they should be allowed is because more people should be able to get, cheaper access to these games. And that really hasn't been the case yet. And granted, it's 17 months, and there are from some of the people I've talked to, there are some technical hurdles they're trying to get through or that they're trying to work around potentially that might prevent stuff from happening sooner than people want. But I also just maybe I'm being a little bit pessimistic on this aspect because I could see a line of thinking of like, all right, if we put in all the older 360 games, not even to mention the like older Xbox One games, and we give them to the audience of Game Pass members, does that take away from the new release that we're about to put out every single year? Because if you give people an option, are they going to go back and play Modern Warfare 2 from the 360? Or are those servers stable? Because I know Microsoft, I think, somebody went back and fixed them on the 360 because that was like a story last year. I know there was a lot of
Microsoft did,
like cheating rampant. So it did seem like they were, at least of last year before, it was like, oh, it seems like something's like they're preparing the way. If you're fixing that stuff, you're preparing the way.
Again, it read it.
Right? And it's just like, but now I'm just thinking, with how slow it's really been, and you can count off the games. Like I think you only really need two hands. You have Diablo 4.
I hope so. I've only got two hands.
I know, but I'm saying like they have so many. I mean, I've seen people share that like Game Pass list that's like huge with all the pictures of all the games that Activision has, and it's like 2 Call of Duty games, a Diablo 4, Spyro Collection and Spyro Crash Team Racing. Spyro Collection, and then some PC only stuff like StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2. I think that's about it. So that's maybe like 8, which definitely and nothing really came at launch. So yeah, you're getting a new Tony Hawk game in there in July, and at least they are being like, okay, the new games are going to go in there. So you're gonna have Tony Hawk. You're gonna have the new Call of Duty. There's just a part of me that thinks that they're not going to bother putting any of the older Call of Duties in there. And I don't think they're going to do anything with backwards compatibility. I think it's maybe one of those things where they just did a cost analysis and were like, we could open this up and it would cost this much to get the team back together to really build this. Because that was the whole point of, you remember the 20th anniversary of Xbox where they had that stream and they dropped the last vestiges of the games that they could do for back compat. And it was like they were ending the program because they were moving on. The team was moving on to do whatever they were going to do next. Whether that was AI stuff or whether that was to make sure maybe
Well,
a new
it's
emulator for whatever they're doing with Xbox. You're in your article about them moving away from Xbox era to Win32. That obviously needs to be fully tested, and so it seems like maybe the backwards compatibility team kind of was broken up and had other priorities they need to do. So I'm thinking maybe they just looked at it and was like, yeah, it's not really gonna do much for us, and that's not gonna really bring in new subscribers. So we need to make sure these other things work and are a bigger priority. So I don't
mm,
know. I would love to be wrong. I would love for people to get the games that they own. Like if you own Singularity and the old COD games, that well, the old COD games are on Game Pass, but like the more the merrier. And it's just taken a lot slower than I thought would happen. And I'm not sure. And this isn't like any inside info. This is just my viewpoint, my opinion on this. I just really don't expect them to add any of the old COD stuff, and I don't expect them to do backwards compatibility stuff. I don't know. Maybe at one point it was something they thought they were gonna do, but as like it all went on in the future, they were just like, I don't think so. I'd love to be wrong, but that's just kind of how I look at it at this
yeah.
point.
I mean, I'm kind of like I'm trying to find out for sure what the state of play is there, because obviously there's a lot of games I want to see, personally. I want to see Singularity. I want to see Prototype, those kind of things. But I think it's kind of telling, right, that when they did close the backwards compatibility program, they did say something like, we've done all we can,
Mm-hmm.
and Activision was a big supporter of backwards compatibility, already. They put some of the old COD games in backwards compatibility.
I think
Most of the
all of
good
them are
ones.
there actually. Most of
Yeah,
like maybe not. No, even Call of Duty 2 I think is there. But yeah, I think they're all there.
yeah. So they were a big supporter of backwards compatibility. So I kind of feel like Prototype and all these other kind of games, they would have been there were it not for some weird licensing thing, or clearly there was something beyond simply not wanting to do it that led to some of these games not appearing on the platform, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so part of me thinks like they just couldn't get the licenses, or there's aspects of the game which are unportable, because of the way they were designed, or just some random bullshit like
What about this? What about the deal just because you look at what Xbox is doing, and this kind of ties into some other stuff we'll be talking later about this idea of Steam potentially being on Xbox and the idea of essentially the next Xbox being a PC and development is they're going to be making PC games that run on an Xbox console, which is basically a PC. I sort
that.
of wonder if because the deal ran long and they couldn't really do any work until it completed, by the time it completed, the team was already working on more important things that were
Or
integral
things for
to
growth.
yeah, where like if the deal ended earlier, like say it ended in 2022, like say it only took 9-10 months, that maybe they had their leeway where they could have gone back and done some of those things because work for the next generation maybe wouldn't have started, but you end in the end of 2023 and then there's usually everybody kind of takes a vacation and is gone at the end of the year and you come back and it's 2024. I sort of feel like work probably started to they needed to do some things for this next generation because if we're right and if the next console is basically a PC and it's not and the old Xbox games have to be basically run through an emulator to get them to work and like new games will just be PCs like the PC game
Hmm.
that probably requires a ton of testing
Oh yeah.
to get right. So I sort of wonder if it's just a lack of it was just maybe like bad timing. Like you know what I mean? I don't know. I could be talking out of my ass here, honestly, because
No, no, no. I think you're most likely onto something. I mean, it probably is a bit. It's probably a combination thing. It's like A, it's bad timing, and B, it's like maybe it's just not as valuable as it once was with regards to their overarching plan for Xbox. Maybe it's like the team that worked on that kind of stuff before. They're now working on backwards compatibility um backwards compatibility for ERA, on the next system. Maybe they just got other fish to fry right
Maybe
now.
that's where it comes in. Maybe it's one of those things, because Cerebon put together the forward compatibility team, right? And that was sort of a
Yes.
big announcement, and we were all wondering, well, what exactly does that mean? Forward compatibility, huh? What if with the next generation or whatever they're doing next, that's when you would introduce, like, okay, we have all these games that are moving forward with us, whatever, and we also, added all these other games that we couldn't get done previously, including the Activision back catalog stuff. So instead of like doling it out months here, because really when you look at like Game Pass, I know in the beginning in 2017 it was like 50-50. It was Xbox One games and 360 games. But they quickly got away from offering 360 games as part of like the subscription, because I think everybody kind of moved on. So what if it's like part of, because I think Xbox is still too far away from their own handheld and their own console to really go and talk in depth about their ambitions. Phil said they wanted to win based on the capabilities of the devices and the innovations that they're going to bring, which are all just buzzwords technically. And they probably aren't ready to really talk about what any of those things mean. But what if one of those things is when they get closer to it, they talk about their vision of forwards compatibility and backwards compatibility, and then say, hey, we also went back and we grabbed all these old ABK games that we couldn't do before, and now they actually all work as, like an addition to the announcement. I could see something like that happening.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, if it is PC based, then Microsoft always talks about how, one of the big strengths of Windows, and maybe one of the few major strengths of Windows from a gaming perspective, is how compatible it is. I can go back. I was playing one of the things I really love on PC right now is good old games and their backwards compatibility, their game preservation program, sorry. So they announced yesterday, I think, that Silent Hill 4 is now on good old games game preservation program. And what that means is that CD Projekt they will patch and fix less than fully compatible PC games for modern systems. And now they got Silent Hill 4, and also I think the original Fear is in there as well. So one thing I was playing on good old games a little while ago was an old MS-DOS game called Realms of the Haunting. Shout out to anyone who knows Realms of the Haunting, but it's like the OG survival horror game. It's basically first person Resident Evil with like Duke Nukem 3D graphics. It's awesome, but it's like it's kind of endearing that I can go back and play this like this DOS box game on a modern Windows system without any issues. But obviously consoles have always had that issue where as they switch between generations, the entire platform can completely change, leading to these compatibility issues, right? So maybe as part of this like switch to PC, Microsoft can actually expand backwards compatibility in a more affordable, holistic kind of future-facing kind of way. If like Windows is just the platform, then there's no reason why potentially I couldn't run Realms of the Haunting on my next Xbox. Can you imagine like running Microsoft DOS games on this stuff? So I suppose there's a lot of facets to this, because I do think like there is an aspect here where it's like Activision they don't want to eat into the engagement on modern Call of Duty games, for one thing. And probably also like they're just being cautious about the way Game Pass impacts the business model, maybe to some degree. And they want to limit the potential negative impacts that it can have. Because, for years and years and years and years, the whole point of Call of Duty is that annualized retail selling. The whole company set up and revolves around that, system, right? So if you start putting like older Call of Duty games into Game Pass, that probably further complicates matters with regards to engagement. And again, these are all just theories. We don't actually know fully for certain what I suppose their reasoning is for not putting them in, but I would suspect this is probably one aspect of it, right? And then also when you talk about games like Prototype and Singularity, maybe there's licensing issues, or even with Call of Duty, maybe to some degree. Maybe it's like, yeah, we can sell these 360 versions, but the original licensing agreement doesn't include things like subscription services, maybe stuff like that. Maybe that's an issue. With regards to legalese on maybe licensed content, whether it's the voice actor who negotiated royalties previously, or some art assets, or anything. It can be like any number of things that can frustrate the licensing backwards compatibility from a licensing perspective. But I do think that Microsoft's story around backwards compatibility is not fully over, and I do think like eventually we probably will see them explore, more backwards compatibility, especially when we're on a new platform which is like more Windows oriented and sort of maybe revolves more around compatibility than ever before, rather than being less compatible. At least that's the hopium, right? Because I suppose one of the, and we were talking about this with Tom Warren on XB2 plus one as well. The whole idea that what if the fear that Xbox fans have is like, what's going to happen to my existing Xbox library? That's the fear. Like, we're moving to a Windows-based platform. Do we lose access to our games? Do I have to rebuild my library? All that kind of stuff. And Microsoft hasn't directly answered those questions yet, right? I think there's some nervousness around that, but we just have to wait and see, I guess. But I do think it's still annoying that they said they would do these things and then they just didn't do it. So, I'm trying to find out more about what it means, but I want to play Singularity, man. Maybe I should hit up good old games instead and ask CD Projekt to port it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe Microsoft could just ask CD Projekt to take over their backwards compatibility stuff, outsource that shit if they want to do it, if they want to.
We do it. There's a couple of game announcements, not like new game announcements. Well, there probably were this week, but South of Midnight went gold, I believe, either today or yesterday. Was it?
Maybe.
Are you looking forward to checking this game out? I mean, I enjoyed my preview from what I played. I got to play a single chapter of it. I released a video about it. Game comes out April 8th, April 3rd for the people that are willing to spend the $10 extra to get like a digital art book and digital soundtrack and 5 days early access. Man, that early access stuff has taken over the industry. Like, every game does that now. I'm sort of surprised Assassin's Creed Shadows didn't do it. But then again, I think Ubisoft was in a tough spot because Star Wars Outlaws had just bombed, which set them back. And Assassin's Creed Shadows, I think at the time, wasn't tracking well. So I think they sort of needed goodwill. So I think they're like, okay, we're going to launch this on Steam, and anybody that pre-orders the game gets this expansion for free that's coming later. So they made it so it wasn't like, oh, you could spend... Because sometimes they get a lot of flack for how they price the upper tier editions, but it's like every game now has this edition that comes basically three or sometimes even just two. Like Doom, like Ultimate Edition, comes with 2 days early access. So we started with 5-day early access. Some games scaled back down to 3, and now some games are just like 48 hours. So it's like the value proposition there isn't necessarily always the greatest. I like the ones that are like, you get 5 days and you get this like free, you get this expansion we're going to do later for free. Because at least it's like, oh, there's content coming. Forza Horizon did this. Forza Horizon 5. They was like, you get the expansion, which is like 2 expansions, and you get 5 days. I feel like maybe some of these people don't want, like, some of the companies are like, oh, okay, we know that they're locked in on the early access, but let's give them the least amount of time as we possibly can and still sell this game for as much as we can. Let's give them 2 days. Let's give them 48 hours, but charge $100 instead of 70. You know. Hey, but they're gonna follow where the money is, and clearly the industry, basically the industry is said, or consumers have said, that we love early access, and it's even better when you give us something free on top of it. So, yeah, South of Midnight's got 5-day early access, which, I don't know, it's kind of weird. Like, South of Midnight's got 5-day early access, but Doom has 2. I don't understand the difference between whys. Like, could you even give a reason why one has 5 and one has 2? No, I
it seems arbitrary to me.
Yeah, it sort of does, and I don't know why. So that went gold. I'm looking forward to playing that. And Towerborn is finally making its way over to Xbox on April 29th, Jez. So another game in the April grinder that is Xbox. So you have South of Midnight. You now have Towerborn. You have, even though it's not their own game, but they heavily sort of are aligned with marketing for Expeditions 33. And then you're releasing games on PlayStation like Forza. I think even just the same day, Forza Horizon 5 comes out on PlayStation on the 29th. Indiana Jones is rumored to be coming on the 17th. And also strong rumors from VGC and Nate the Hate that Oblivion's basically going to announce in April and release in April. So a whole smorgasbord of games that Xbox is releasing in April. I think you've said you've played Towerborn, right? Maybe not necessarily the Steam version that's out now, the early access version. But I know you did play it at one point, and it's making its way over to Xbox in April. I think it's coming to Game Preview, but it's going to be in Game Pass. What do you think of that? What do you think of Towerborn? Have you played it since?
I haven't played the more recent versions. But the version I played, I played it in Hawaii actually.
Okay.
Because I had it, one of the games I got installed on my Legion Go. I have to admit, I ain't the biggest fan of it.
Okay.
From what the most recent versions I played. That's the thing. It is my kind of game theoretically. Like, I love games like, Golden Axe and Streets of Rage and Castle Crashers, and then you mix it with Diablo kind of loot system. It's kind of like, this is exactly the kind of combination of genres that I feel like I should like. And also, you've also got a little bit of monster hunting in there. You've also got like the combat designers from Killer Instinct are there. So like the combo systems and the aerial juggling that's in the game are really fun and really tight. But the sort of like what I don't really dislike, and this is really subjective and honestly maybe a dumb reason, I really can't stand the setting.
Okay.
It kind of feels like they went out of their way to make it look light-hearted and shiny, but then it's like I'm meant to believe that this is an apocalypse as well, kind of thing. Like, people in Towerborn live inside the tower because the outside world's been overrun by weird monsters and stuff like that, and it's that I kind of feel like the narrative and the setting are kind of at odds with each other, and it kind of feels like they went out of their way to not make it darker game. I don't know. It's hard to explain where I'm coming from here, but I just don't really like the setting. It doesn't appeal to me.
Are you looking forward? Are you gonna check it out when it comes to? Because I'm gonna imagine there's gonna be like updates, like
so
when it comes on
one
April
of the things
29th.
one of the things I did notice when when the announcement for the Xbox version is that it looks like they've reworked a lot of it from when I last played it, which was about a month ago now, maybe just under a month. So the Steam build that I played was obviously out of date, and now this big update which is coming for the Xbox version, it looks like they've added a lot more bulk to the the gameplay loop, more systems and stuff like that. One of the things that also really bugged me is like the UI and the interface was super janky and unpolished and ugly as well. And it kind of almost at times felt a bit like I was watching I don't know, a Flash game. It's like they designed the UI in like Adobe Flash or something like that. And I was just kind of like, this ain't it. This ain't it, right? But I was also like, this early access, so I'm gonna wait and see, I'm gonna aggressively wait and see, right? Um, and so I think it could become something over time, and I hope they do stick with it, and it does reach its potential. I'm gonna give it another chance. I'll play it when it comes to Xbox or the new version and whatever.
Right,
Because
because
again, it does look like a good game for cloud. It looks like a good game for devices like the Legion Go and stuff like that. So like I'm kind of rooting for it, but it's also exists in a very busy space, and it's also, there's a new Diablo season launching around then as well, and it's like, is there room in my life for another game like Diablo or Warcraft that isn't on that quality bar,
I mean, I'm looking at screenshots and I'm seeing the video, and I mean, I like the art style they went for. It does pop. But with April 29th, it's coming with the next major update to the game, which is the Class Mastery update, which adds cross-platform play and progression, so PC and Xbox players will be able to party up together, no matter what platform, and the progression is shared across. It adds couch co-op on Xbox consoles, so you can play up to like 4-player couch co-op and local co-op. And they say
That's
here,
cool.
like, perhaps the biggest change is the class skills. Class Mastery is an all-new progression system that makes every ace unique based on individual player choices. By completing missions, players earn skill points, allowing you to fine-tune your chosen class, unlocking focus skills and class mechanics that drastically change how you play. And you can change your swap out your skill points freely between missions, so you can experiment or whatever. A reimagined world map and quest line. And they said this is one of the things from feedback. Responding to feedback from early access players, Towerborn's map is being remade to offer a more refined quest line and relocates bosses to make for more exciting progression.
Yeah, it's
So this seems like a
it's that
pretty
kind of stuff that,
substantial update to the game.
yeah. Yeah, it does seem like, they cook it, and are responding to feedback. And I suppose that's the whole point of early access. I think one thing that hobbled it a bit was the fact that it was not on Xbox Game Preview, and it was kind of like, hang on, Microsoft has its own game preview platform, and this Microsoft published game isn't using it. So it's kind of like, how serious are they about this game? How low budget is this game that they can't even find it within their budget to support Xbox's own stuff, right? So I don't know, fair or not. I did see people complain about that when it was announced to be Steam Early Access first, but I'll give it another go. I'll check it out. Like I say, it should be my kind of game. And maybe, but I suppose another thing is like, can I get any of my friends to play it?
Mm-hmm.
Because I do think it's a game that shines a bit like Castle Crashers. It's a game that most likely shines when you are playing it with friends, but we'll see. Another game that's kind of similar in a way that came out recently that is getting some hype and some recognition is 33 Immortals.
Right, yeah.
Have you tried this one out
I've
yet,
not.
Rand?
I have been just kind of busy with Assassin's Creed, so I don't know if have you played 33 Immortals yet? Do
I
you?
haven't, but I
Okay.
saw Phil was playing it last
Mm-hmm.
night on Xbox Live,
Well, I
and
think
some of
it's
my colleagues are playing it.
it's in game preview. Um, I guess I'll talk about Assassin's Creed now since we brought up I mentioned it
What
or
we're playing.
whatever. So I have been knee deep in Assassin's Creed for like almost 2 weeks. The last game I played, Split Fiction, I absolutely adored. I think I talked about it last week. You guys know that. Right now in the front runner for my game of the year, but I love that game. I love that game. That studio has kind of been catapulted to maybe top 10 studio, top 5 studio. If I had to sit down and like, seriously, the game's charming, it's innovative, it's unique, it's imaginative. I could think of any adjective or superlative you could throw at Split Fiction, and I love it. 10 out of 10. Would play again. If I could erase my memory, I'd play it again immediately. I had a lot of fun playing it. So definitely a change going from Split Fiction, which is sort of a linear co-op game, that's 10, I think it took us 13 hours, to massive AAA open world RPG from Ubisoft, right? And I am a fan of the Assassin's Creed franchise. I think at one point, man, when like Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood and Revelations and Black Flag, like, man, those games were just so tight. Odyssey is, I skipped Origins and I never went back to it, and I'm not sure why. I think it's because Wolfenstein 2 came out the same day, and I prioritized, BJ Blazkowicz and Wolfenstein 2 over Origins. And you know me, sometimes if I skip over a game to play something else, I have a tough time actually then going back. So I haven't gone back to Origins. I played the ever-loving crap out of Odyssey. I think I have 120 hours in it. Loved Odyssey so much, 2018, when it came. Maybe my game of the year in 2018? No, 2018 would have been God of War and Red Dead Redemption 2, but Odyssey would have been like top 3. I skipped Valhalla. So I played Mirage, which was the recent one, the return to form, as they say, of the early Assassin's Creeds, and it does some stuff right, but some stuff it gets completely wrong. It's like it's mostly a forgettable experience. So yeah, when they announced Assassin's Creed Shadows, I was really excited. I'm like, all right, we're finally going to Japan. We have the dual characters. We got Yasuke, who is he's essentially a walking tank in this game. And then you have your ninja, your shinobi, Naue. So I was kind of interested in seeing, after not having played one of these games since Odyssey, if they sort of pulled off. And I know this game has been under a lot of controversy, some of it made up, but like it seems like people have a problem with Yasuke, and people have a problem with like, the character, and the problem with this or that, or the romances, or the cultural insensitivity to like destroying shrines. It just seems like there's just been cloud hanging over this game ever really since it came out. When I was playing for the game,
there's also like the general backlash to Ubisoft in the last
like Ubisoft
couple of years.
Ubisoft, and now it's like we know that Ubisoft is looking to sort of sell some stuff. Now it's like Assassin's Creed has this other burden that it needs to like save the company, quote unquote, right? Save quote. So I have about 50 hours into Assassin's Creed Shadows right now, and I would classify it as a good game. I'm having fun playing it. You know me, I love my stealth games, and this has been a return to form for the series for the stealth side of stuff, which I think they sort of got away from in previous games. There was a point in time where it was like, oh, the enemy's too high of a level for you, and sometimes if you assassinate him, you might not kill him completely, which I don't know. I always found that stuff to be utterly ridiculous. They have vestiges of it here, like remnants, because the like enemies' health, like they have health bars, like health segments. And yeah, sure, you can instantly assassinate all the like the lower tier enemies. But like the bigger ones that have more health segments, you might only take away half, or you might leave them with one, or if it's a big guy, you can't kill him instantly. Now you can upgrade your character to be able to take down those segments, but it requires a lot of grinding. Or you can just go into the settings and actually turn on one-hit kill animation, one-hit kill assassinations, which is great, which is what I recommend everybody does, because it's turned off initially. But that's one of the
what?
Yeah, so like
there's a setting for instant kill.
Yes, there's a setting if you go to difficulty tuning in the options, where you set what difficulty you want to play in, because it has a set by like the difficulty of the combat. So it's like storyteller, easy, normal, hard. And then difficulty for the stealth. So like you could set it to expert, or you can leave it on normal. And then there's a setting for guaranteed assassinations. So if you have it off, what I explained will happen. Like, you might come to one of these enemies that you can't just kill instantly. However, if you turn on that feature, every enemy is an insta-kill, if you can obviously, get to him quietly.
Sneak up to him.
So that's a setting I turned on, I think, probably 5 hours in. Because that's just the way Assassin's Creed should be. Like, I should be able to take my hidden blade or my sword and jam it into the neck. There's no reason why you should be able to be like, oh, actually, no, I shrugged it off. Now I have only 20% health or whatever. So I turned that on, and I, play with it off if you want in the beginning just to see what I'm talking about. But I recommend turning that on. So I do think it's a return to form. Naoe's character being the shinobi ninja in this, and she has a lot of she's the stealth character. She's the one that sticks to the shadows. She has the hidden blade. She has like the smoke bombs. She has the bells to lure people away. She has the shuriken, and she has those tools. Like, she's a proper ninja. And that's how I enjoy playing this game. It's not to say that, like, she can't get in combat or she's bad at it. It's just, like, Yasuke's the combat character, although she can hold her own, right? So I appreciate the game for that. I appreciate the game kind of returning to its stealth roots. But there are some other kind of quibbles and foibles I have. One of the other, like, really good things about the game is the world looks spectacular. It's great. Like, it is visual eye candy. Especially
I've seen those viral bamboo cutting videos.
It is visual eye candy through and through. And the world is absolutely massive, which is a plus, but also a big minus in my opinion, because you are going to be traveling from one point to another point, which could take a while. But the scenic, the like, just taking in, you'll be like with your horse just running down this road, and like the leaves above you, if you're in the right season, will be blowing, and it's just a beautiful looking game, like absolutely beautiful looking. And the story, it's your fairly typical revenge story, and I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody, but Naoe's out looking for revenge. And the way, like, the missions are set up in this game is you have an objective board, which is very similar to one of the missions you had in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where you had to, like, discover the ringleaders of a certain sect, and you would have them on this, like, board, and you could look at them and find all the clues. And that's kind of how it's set up overall here, is, like, you have an objective board, and, like, the goal is to, like, kill all these people. And then as you play through, you'll get other side missions that people will give you. And then you'll have more objective boards, usually of people you have to kill, right? Like, oh, these are bad people, these are bad people, these are bad people. So, and the game, I sort of believe they've heard the criticism about how Ubisoft games, and Assassin's Creed in particular, are very guilty of making it seem like all you're doing is going from one map marker to the other map, to the next map marker, right?
Yeah.
You just see it in the map, you click on it, you set a waypoint, and you just follow it. And I think they're very aware of maybe how people feel about that these days. Remember, when Elden Ring came out in 2022, that was one of the compliments that people praised it, was this open world design of player discoverability, of how you could just stumble across something within the game world itself because you weren't really led towards it. And you had this moment where you're like, holy crap. I still remember the first time I went down, I like found a well, and the well had the elevator, and you went down, and it kept on going down and down and down. I'm like, what's going on? And then you see like the city underneath the world, right?
Yeah.
And all those cool things within Elden Ring that you found on your own. Whereas, like, Ubisoft very much is like, look at all the things you can do in this game. Look at all these things. Look at the map. There's boom, 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 question mark, all this stuff on there. And, you discover this stuff, like, as you get to a sync point and you look, and it gives you that really sweeping music, and it's like, like epic music as it pans around you, and then you see other areas that you can maybe go explore, like, oh, there's an undiscovered location here, an undiscovered location there, and you're like, oh, what is over there? And you go, and there might be little thing with meditation with Naue that will allow you to kind of get her backstory, or there might be something for Yasuke like kata, whatever, and it's like, oh, there's more synchronized points. But the game doesn't put like its main missions in the world. They want you to use this like new feature they've made for this game called like the Scouts. And so like the game will be like, hey, you need to go meet this guy. He's in the Setsu region over by this city and northeast of this. And you hover over the map and you pick a scout and it like flashes the area he'll search. And then you press it to confirm. And then if something's there within the search region, it's like, boom, now it's a blue icon. It's like, you found him. This is where the next mission is, right? And then you just basically go to it, whether or not you have a fast travel point next to it or you ride over there. But I think that's kind of in response to people's complaints.
Is it good? Is it better?
See, I used it that way for like 30 hours, right? Because they do have a setting and it's called guided mode, and it's off by default, where this is the default, where it doesn't put the missions on your map, that you actually have to take the context clues it shows you. And the context clues are just like, go talk to this person, and it'll list 3 things. Like, he is in this region, he's over here by this city, or over here by this temple, and he's north of here. So, like, you're supposed to use those clues to, like, pinpoint where the scouts goes. Now, in the beginning of the game, if you mess up, the thing is, the scouts are also tied to the hideout system. The scouts are also tied to the season system, because the game rotates its seasons. Like, it has a full day-night cycle and a full seasonal cycle that goes from summer to spring to winter to fall, right?
I did see that, yeah.
And
that actually looked really cool, I think.
Yeah, it is cool. It is actually really cool to get the different seasons and stuff. The hideout is like, once you kind of get through the prologue of the game, which sees you playing as Yasuke at first, and then Naue, where it kind of sets up the stakes of what's going on. And then you play for Naue, which was for me for like 20 hours. You have to basically beat Act 1 of the game before Naue and Yasuke's paths cross again. So while you get to play as 10 minutes of Yasuke in the beginning, and depending how quickly you can go through Act 1 of the game, you can't play as Yasuke again until you beat Act 1. And then you can switch whenever you want. But for me, that was like 20 hours. I was basically like 20 hours into the game, still playing as Naue, still doing all these things in the world. And I'm like, I kind of want to play as Yasuke again. But there's this thing that's tied into the story. It's called a hideout. And it's this like, you kind of load into it, and it runs very, very, very poorly on the console. Like, it is like a slideshow, because you can build buildings, drop in pets, do plant stuff. It's supposed to be where all the people that you ally with come and all hang out. And, the more buildings you build, like the forge and all that stuff, they require resources. And this is also where, like, the game sorts of extends its, like, how much you play. Because all these buildings require, like, wood, stone, and, like, crops to build. So part of the things that you're looking for when you're in these missions are these things that glow. If you hold left trigger, you can observe the world, and it'll highlight certain things. Like, it'll be these things in yellow, which are your lootables. You can, like, loot chests, and sometimes they'll give you a new armor piece. Sometimes they'll give you a new katana or any of your weapons. But other times it's just, like, minerals. It's crops. It's these things you can use your scouts for, like these big pallets of rocks or whatever. So while you come across like a big castle, and you look at the castle and it's like, okay, there are these 4 samurai that you can kill, and each one that you kill gives you a mastery point. And if you kill all 4 of those, it opens up the chest, and the chest will have something like maybe a legendary item to your level. Maybe you get a legendary hat, which increases your health, or maybe you get a legendary sword, which potentially is, hey, if you deflect it, you cause poison or whatever, right? So if you go find those 4 samurai, not only do you get points to level up your character, because you have a lot of different trees you can level up in the game, like Yasuke, and now I have a lot of different trees you can level up, and you get points like crazy. By the time I actually finished Act 1 with Naue, I had 80 skill points to spend with Yasuke. 80 skill points, Jez. Because I had, some of these guys, they give you like 2 skill points when you kill them, and every time you level up, you get 1. And 80 skill points wasn't even really enough to, like, because he's like, I want my katana to be badass, and I want I need to upgrade my my abilities in my samurai tree, and some of them require like 5 points. So like you burn through that stuff fast. So part of it isn't just like looking and killing those enemies. You then have to worry about the supplies, and you find yourself like trying to tag as many of these items with your scouts as you can, but the game only gives you like 2-3 scouts at the start, right? And anytime you tag in the beginning a pilot of rocks, it takes away 2 scouts. And you only start with 3. So 2 scouts are gone, and you need these things to build your hideout. But you don't get your scouts back until the season changes. And a season change is like 90 minutes real time. It's not something that goes by really quickly. But you can have the option of like in your hideout or in these, you can buy these little other hideouts. You can replenish your scouts, but they cost money. They cost like $200. 200 mun, as they call it. In the beginning, you don't
I thought
really...
you meant $200 in real life.
No, like
for a
not
second. I was
but
like,
you
oh my
can,
God.
But you can spend real money in the Ubisoft store to get fake money in this game. If you want, right? Now, eventually, it doesn't become a problem. Eventually, like, I got $20,000, and I've upgraded my hideout to the point where it costs less to recruit the scouts. But in the beginning, it's like, okay, I need to send a scout out to see where the next main mission is. But then I lose them for the entire season. Oh, okay, well, I want to get more wood because I want to build this building that actually gives me another scout. Or I want to build this building over here, which... I want to build this forge because that's the only way to level up your weapons. And since you're constantly leveling, and the weapons and stuff that you get are always level to you, so I'll get a weapon. I'm level 5. If I fight legendary, it'll be level 5. But in 5 hours of play, I'm going to be level 10, and that weapon is going to do less damage and stuff. So I need to level it up. So you need the forge. But it's like I'm wasting all my money on. So it's either I wait for the seasons to end to get my scouts back, or I pay for the scouts, which cost $200 each. So in the beginning, you're kind of like, you're trying to figure out the best way to go about it, to level up your character, to get the resources you need.
Let me ask you this. Do you think they've designed it this way to incentivize buying in-game money with real money? Because that sounds like intentionally, I don't know, obscurified.
Well, see, I guess that only depends if you're really trying to build stuff out in the hideout. So it's right now, like I got so much stuff that I've built everything and I have nothing to use my thousands upon thousands of stuff with. Just like I have thousands of mon that I don't need. So maybe it's preying on people who can only play a couple hours a night or an hour in a week or whatever, and they're like, oh, I want to build this, but I don't have maybe it's preying on those people. But for anybody who's just playing the game, you don't need to spend any money on it. It was just something I did notice. I was like, okay, the game's set up in a way where if you not only do you need like, okay, you're doing these main missions and leveling up, but you also got to take the time out to tag these items for your scouts. But then the scouts, you also need to find out where the main missions are, and you can't get them back unless you that's the season changes, but the seasons take a long time to change.
Yeah.
So I spend the money. But here's the thing: you can turn off. So the guided mode is off by default. You can just turn it on, and it's just like any other Assassin's Creed game, where like you don't have to find the main missions anymore. They're just on your map for everything that you find. Like so it's like it's a choice between the two. And I played with it off for about 30 hours, because that's what they recommended. And eventually, I had like 7 scouts. And I did the ability where it doesn't take 2 scouts to take 1 pallet anymore. I got it down to 1, and I had so much money that I would be in a castle. I'd kill the guys, get all my points, find all the resources, and then rebuy all my scouts again. But now I don't need any more resources, and I barely use the scouts because I don't need them for the other. So it's just a part of the game that I feel needs to be talked about, right?
I've got an issue with this, particularly so, because it sounds to me a little bit like they've tried to design the game for everyone, right? And I think, I'm going to use WoW as a comparison here, right? Because World of Warcraft is 20 years old, and it's kind of spanned the gamut of being more like Elden Ring, where they don't give you quest markers, they don't give you arrows to follow, they don't give you a detailed map with icons on it, all the way up to what the Ubisoftification, which is like, oh, now the secrets and the things that could be like hidden treasure chests on the map, they're now just on the map. I don't have to search for them anymore. They're just there on the map. And I think World of Warcraft has lost something with that. And it's I've written an article about this before. It's game designed by telemetry, I think, where it's like they've got telemetry where it's like, oh, people engage with this, so that means it's good. And you for example, you turned it off, and you added the markers and stuff like that because it was there, and because it's the most efficient way to play. And I think sometimes like developers misconstrue efficiency with fun. I think when it isn't there in Elden Ring, you get immersed. You have to play a certain way. And like with there's no difficulty settings in Elden Ring. You have to play the game how it wants you to play it. And I think there's a purity there, which I think like is hard to put into words, and it's especially hard to measure in a telemetry spreadsheet, And I think it's sort of that human condition, that sort of human connection that you form with a game like Elden Ring or like classic World of Warcraft, which is why WoW Classic is so popular, because it is just like Elden Ring. Like, I look at Elden Ring's map, and it's World of Warcraft's map from back in the day, like where the caves are literally drawn on the map. They're not an icon. Yeah, like Solithida says in chat, Mancrick's wife without quest markers. This classic quest in WoW, which is kind of notorious, where it's like Mancrick's like, can you please find my wife? She's somewhere down south. And like down south is like fucking desert. It's like, where is this chick, But like modern WoW is just an arrow pointing you directly there, right? The game lost something with that, because people will play the most efficient way if they're given the choice to do so.
Right.
But I think it's less fun when you're given the choice to do so. In some cases, I think
I could see
less immersive.
I could see why they did it, but at the end of the day, I think you just turn on guided mode. It will just put it removes that whole scout thing from the whole. You don't need to use them to find anything, because there were times where it would say it's over here, and I would use all 6, and I was searching in the wrong place, and then I would have to go buy all 6 again, and I was just like, you know what, I'm turning this off. And then then the whole map is just basically just icons everywhere, right? It's just like,
well, that's the thing, like that's what I mean, like that. So I think Ubisoft were like, they designed this system with the scouts with the mindset of, oh well, people can just turn it off if they don't like it.
Well, the scouts are also
if it was the only system they had, maybe they would have had to test it better.
Well, the scouts are also tied into the hideouts, because like you need to find the bigger things to to bring back the supplies to your hideout so you can build the stuff. Like, is the hideouts worth it? Is it a cool thing? For some people, yeah, they're gonna love being able to build their own Japanese village and make it how they want and all that stuff. Like, for some people, like for me, I did the bare minimum. I built it, and like I only come back when I need to. Like, I'm not about to put.
Yeah, we know you hate building mechanics.
Well, yeah, and it's like, but you can do a lot with this. So I'm gonna imagine that there are gonna be people that like love that, but I want to get back.
That appeals
to, like,
to me. That sounds cool to me.
Yeah, you it runs really poorly on console though, like really poorly.
On Xbox too.
Oh yeah, like you know, you're playing in performance mode. You're playing in performance mode. It runs solid. It runs pretty solid 60. You go into the hideout, like, because it loads into it, because it's like a different section, and it is a freaking slideshow. Maybe it's because like everything is customizable, and they need to make sure. But yeah, it's a slideshow. But that's an aspect of the game I wanted to talk about because it was just like it was on my mind. Like, when you get into like the two characters, right? You have Naue and you have Yasuke, and how do they interact, and how do they move forward with the main missions and things like that? So, like I said, once you beat Act 1, their stories intertwine, and you can play as Yasuke or Naue. Now, there are some missions that only Yasuke can start, and then there's some missions that only Naue can start. And the great thing about them is, like I said, the skill points are shared. So if you rather play as Yasuke, and then at some point you want to go and play as Naue, well, if you earn 30 points as him, she's got the 30 points too. So you're not leaving anybody behind. They all level up at the same, and they all do different things. So Naue, I'm all stealthed out, right? I'm trying to go through these areas as stealthy as I can possibly, because that's how I enjoy Assassin's Creed. The combat with the characters is good too. Like, I enjoy the combat. The combat is kind of centered around right bumper, right trigger. I don't want to say like right bumper is like, I don't want, normally like right bumper is like fast and like right trigger is like slower but heavier. Like those kind of two setups with the two attacks, but you can then like hold right bumper, hold right trigger. And you get abilities. You unlock them in the trees. That each character has, which then you can activate whenever they're there. You can call in people from your hideout, so like you'll recruit people that have certain abilities, and then you can essentially call them in to help you battle. And it is fun. Like, you unlock the parrying mechanics and stuff, so like you'll get into a fight with like 6 people surrounding you, and you're just going nuts, and then like you'll see somebody try to attack, and boom, you're parrying him. Like, the combat works well. I mean, if you played Mirage, was the last one, the combat was the worst the series ever had to offer. The combat in this one is good. Like, I'm 50 hours in, and I still have a good time with the combat. And then there's, like, the finishers. Like, usually when there's the last enemy in a fight and you beat them, you'll do some finisher. So Naue has 3 weapons, and you can equip 2 at a time, so you can kind of go between your katana sword, your smaller katana sword. You got these small knives where you can do dual assassinations if you have it equipped, like with your hidden blade and your tanto, and then this like ball and chain whip thing. So you can set it up to be like, well, I want the knife and I want the tanto, or I want the tanto and the sword. And you can kind of mix and match and work in both of those into the combos and things like that. And they each have their unique finishers, which are pretty brutal. But then I got to play as Yasuke. And Yasuke is like... his gameplay is so out of character for an Assassin's Creed game that it's like a breath of fresh air when you first get him. Right? Because Naue is pretty much a ninja. She can hold her own in combat. But Yasuke is a fucking walking tank. Like, when you look at the differences,
you said that to me on Discord.
Yeah, like when you look at like how much health Naue has and then how much damage she pulls. Like, let's just say Naue has 1,000 health and does 1,000 damage. Yasuke's got like 4,000 health and does 2,000 damage. So he does like twice the damage and has like 3 times the health. So his whole thing is he's obviously slow. Right? He can't run as fast. He can't climb as well. Certain things he can't climb at all, right? But a lot of the castles are areas that will have like a wooden gate. And you can just start running and you will just plow through that thing. Like, and you feel powerful when you do so, because you've been playing this whole time as Naue, and those things are barred, and you gotta, you gotta use your grapple to kind of climb up and get around it. With Yasuke, you're just like, hear me roar. I want to fight all you guys. And then it becomes just really an action game. Because then you'll get surrounded, but you're so powerful and you have so much health that, like, it's fun just wrecking shop. And his finisher animations are absolutely brutal. You're chopping people's heads off left and right. And he's got more weapons than Naoe does. Naoe has 3 weapons. He's got a long katana. He's got a spear. He's got this huge bat. He's got a long-range rifle. And he's got a bow and arrow. So you can mix and match all the different ways you can possibly imagine there, right? And you get the bat. Bro, some of these finisher animations, like, the shit, it is brutal. So then I started playing Yasuke for a while, and I'm like, man, like, I'm just going... Before with Naoe, I'm trying to avoid everything. Now I'm wanting to fight everything. Because, like, it's just how the character's built. But, like, with these games like this, I always end up getting sidetracked. Because it's like, here's the main story, and here's the things you have to do. But then you'll be going somewhere, and you'll see, oh, there's undiscovered location, and then you go there, and it's a side quest, and this guy wants you to kill all these other people, and all these other things, and oh, like, look, this reward is a legendary this, and then you go do some of that stuff, and before you know it, 4 hours is gone, right? But I'm 50 hours in now, and I find myself exclusively playing as Naoe, because I feel like Yasuke is kind of too one-dimensional. Like, all he really does is fight. And when you've done his combat enough...
He's a man, bro.
I know, but I mean...
What else is he supposed to do?
Like, the thing is, like, she can do more because she can do the stealth stuff and she can still fight. Whereas, like, he really doesn't do the stealth, and it almost
he
like...
He can't do stealth at all?
No, he does have, like, stealth kills, but they're, like, you do it and everybody knows you're around. So you don't want to do stealth with him. Like, you don't want to climb the rooftops and do all that stuff because he's just slow and clunky.
Why did they even add it then?
Because because their stories are intertwined. And I don't want to give away, like, why they're intertwined, but they're essentially allies at this point. And, like, when you choose main missions, it'll be like, oh, we need to go attack this. And then it's like, oh, Yasuke, you do this and draw their attention over here. So then you start playing as Yasuke doing a part of something. And then it'll switch to Naoe, and then she stealthily approaches it. So, like, the main missions, you'll be playing as both. And then it always gives you an option to kind of, like, pick which one you want to play as if you want to, like, kill the person you need to kill. So, like, the story is interesting.
Are you forced to play as any particular character, or can you just be like, nah, I'm not going to play Naoe at all. I just want to be a slack and slash
guy. There are points where you are forced. Like I said, there was this one main mission where I was storming this castle to kill this guy. And, like, we were coming up with the plan, and it was like, okay, Yasuke, you go in there first, and you kill these people. And you go in there, and there's, like, a bar, and it's like, you need to kill these people to fill up this bar. And then once you do, boom, it switches to Naoe. And then, like, I need to go over here and infiltrate and open up this door so Yasuke can enter. And people won't know. So, like, in the main missions, and because usually, like, when you pick a target to go after, you don't just go after the target. You have to uncover, like, who he is. Because, like, you don't know some of these people. So you're trying to, like, so there's, like, submissions you do to actually be able to get to the main person. And those you can kind of pick to play as whoever you want. Like, oh, we need to find out the info about where's this person at or whatever. We need to recruit this ally. So there'll be like 3 or 4 missions. And then you'll do the thing where it's like, we're going after this guy. And that's where the game kind of splits and being like, you're playing as Yasuke for 10 minutes and now you're playing as Naoe. But otherwise in between, most of the time you can just pick who you want to play as, and it's pretty easy. Like when you fast travel, you can choose to fast travel as the current player you are, or you can fast travel as the other if you want to switch on your way there. And then if any time in the game, if you're out of combat, if you just press start and go to your inventory, you can switch to the other character right there. So it's pretty painless to switch to the other character, but I just find myself playing as Naoe because I enjoy the stealth aspect more so than just then like I just want to play as Yasuke and just fight 40 people because I've used all of his weapons and it's like, all right, well, I've seen everything I can see here. The thing is, with this game, why I'm enjoying the combat, why I'm enjoying like Naoe's stealth stuff, I feel like the game is too. It's just big for big's sake. It's literally designed for you to waste 100 hours to do everything. Like the map is absolutely massive, and there's so many things you can do and so many side missions, and the side missions really aren't anything to really speak of. I mean, some of them have some cool fights, and you always get like points, but at this point, it's just like, could you not condense this down more? And
Too big.
it really is. Like, I'm 50 hours in, and I know just like if I just focused on the main story stuff, I probably got another 20 hours. If I threw in more side story stuff, it's even probably longer. And I just sort of, it's like I'm going through it, and I'm just like, the game doesn't need to be this massive. It really doesn't. And even though the game looks great and it plays well, and it's fun to stealth around, and it was fun to play as Yasuke for a while until it was just kind of like it's just too one note for how he plays, and he really doesn't fit into the gameplay stuff that they're doing with Assassin's Creed. Even though I'm appreciating how the stories are intertwined, I wish this was a smaller world and it was like half the length, because maybe you could do more player focused exploration where you're discovering this stuff, like like Elden Ring did, instead of it having just a complete map fest where it's sometimes you just like, all right, where's another thing? All right, click it. Oh, I don't have a fast travel thing close by. All right, I got to run my horse 2,000 meters over there. You know what I mean? Where that kind of gets to you after a bit. And then there's the present day story stuff, which is just like, it makes me think they wrote this shit like a week before the game came out. It's hardly in the game. Because that's always been another aspect of Assassin's Creed, was the modern day plot lines, which I was really into back in the Ezio trilogy.
They kind of died with Ezio, I think.
It sort of did. They brought it back for the newer games like Origins and all that stuff, and yeah. But I mean, I like the game. Don't get me wrong. I think it's good. I think I'd be like a 7.5, maybe an 8, depending, like right around an 8. I think that's probably as high as I would go. Yeah, that's how I feel about Assassin's Creed. It's I sort of expected to like it. I sort of expected to like it more when I initially saw some of the gameplay and stuff. Like, I was like, oh man, this looks really good, and like I am enjoying myself, but it just, I don't know. It's not. It's like missing something to take it that extra way for me.
Let me ask you this to round out the discussion. In the context of Ubisoft's well-documented issues,
yeah,
did this game need to be better? Did this game need to be a silver bullet?
Every game needs to be as like as good as it can possibly be. Is this game going to save Ubisoft? I doubt it.
Well, put it this way, right? Atomfall is like around about an 8.
Okay.
Right. But like Atomfall isn't gonna, be the deciding factor in whether Rebellion lives or dies.
No.
Like, is an 8 good enough when Ubisoft's kind of in its death throes? Even there was someone in the chat earlier talking about how Ubisoft share price is down again on the
I mean, they did announce a million.
Investors.
They did announce 1 million players yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a great number. Maybe it will be. I know Monster Hunter Wilds did like 1 million concurrent day one on just Steam. So it's like it's coming off of Valhalla, which according to Ubisoft was their most successful Assassin's Creed game ever. But you look at the reviews for Valhalla, and they're the same as Shadows. They're both like an 82. And I do think, like, if you enjoyed those games, like the Odyssey, the Origins, the Valhalla, you more than likely will enjoy Shadows because it's in the same vein. I think
one of the issues with these Ubisoft games is, right, you're not really changing much beyond the setting. it's not like say like a sequelized game where it's like, oh, I get to play as Geralt again or Ciri or whatever, like in The Witcher, but like it's the same but better. This is kind of like it's resetting that nostalgia for characters every single
Well,
game
yeah.
while also emphasizing the stuff about Ubisoft games that people find annoying, like the bloat, the grind, and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of like with a franchise that's like become so, I don't know. It's like a legacy franchise almost at this point. You're kind of resetting the nostalgia every single time the game comes out. And I thought about this a lot with Final Fantasy recently. Like Final Fantasy as a franchise is nowhere near the powerhouse it used to be back in the day, right? Not as relevant. And I say this as someone who really loves Final Fantasy, but it's like it's kind of telling that they've doubled down on, nostalgia bait with stuff like 7 Remake. They're making 3 Final Fantasy 7 games, not counting things like the Final Fantasy 7 mobile games, the spin-offs, Crisis Core, and all that kind of stuff, right? And I think part of that is because with every Final Fantasy game that comes out, they kind of reset that nostalgia. I mean, it's always nostalgic when you see a Malboro or a Kaksua or something like that. But I don't know if that carries a whole franchise, you know. So I don't know. I mean, it's just a sort of disorganized podcast thought I just had, but um, I don't know if Ubisoft needs, and this is why like the Ezio trilogies, everyone recalls the Ezio trilogy and nostalgizes the Ezio trilogy, and a big part of it is Ezio. You go through Ezio his whole life, and then Desmond as well on the that's his name, right? If I remember correctly. On the real life story arc, and it felt like it could go somewhere. And and I'm sitting there thinking like if I was running Ubisoft, I probably would have had like the Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed's real life story arc would have eventually merged into Watch Dogs, and it kind of did to a degree, but I don't think they went hard enough with it, and they certainly didn't go hard enough with it with regards to the characters and stuff. Because obviously, like each Watch Dogs game is a different character for starters. Um, or like maybe some returning supporting characters come in, but like you lose that connection with the main characters of the story when you know move between sequels. And then maybe I would have like doubled down on the characters that were established in the Ezio trilogy rather than sort of go off and make a million games that were just I don't know, maybe a bit contrived to some degree. And I think like there is room, of course, within a franchise to sort of have a sort of soft reboot and sort of move on, especially when a game franchise gets so long in the tooth. But this is one of the fucking cool things about World of Warcraft after 20 years. I just doing season 2 in this expansion. I'm playing like the main character of this season is a dude that was in vanilla, Gazlo the Goblin. Yeah. I've seen I've seen him grow from being this side character when I was 18 to being like the main character of this story arc. And that's awesome, man. Like a lot of these franchises and these legacy game devs and stuff like that, I suppose like because as they grow and evolve and they bring in new members of staff who maybe don't have nostalgia for Ezio or any of these characters, they want to put their own mark on it, and there's nothing wrong with that, of course. But I think the trade-off is that you end up with these legacy franchises which lose their luster
I,
over
I,
time.
you know what I sort of think? I think Ubisoft was the progenitor of these type of open world games, and the
Hmm.
problem is other companies came along, took their formula, and did it better.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I agree.
Ubisoft hasn't really changed their formula very much. I mean, they tried to with Assassin's Creed and with Origins, and by all accounts, it's been super successful. Like, Unity bombed, or Unity did well, but people hated it, which made Syndicate, the next one, to come out bomb. And then they had to kind of pivot, and they did Origins, which did well. Odyssey did even better, and then Valhalla came out, which did even better. But since that time, you've had other companies sort of taken what Ubisoft made, or the formula that they made, whether it's Ghost of Tsushima, whether it's like, you know, Witcher and Cyberpunk, or like that Elden Ring, like that have taken the open world formula and done it better than they do. So it makes their own open world stuff looks formulaic. But yeah, but like last thing I'll say about this game before we move on is that, you know, like I see all this stuff about like the forced romance, like, oh, you can be gay, like Yasuke can romance a guy and Nawe can romance the girl, and you know, all that stuff, and I'm just like, I did see those options, but the thing is, I didn't choose them. Like, so it's like,
And what did Doom say? You control the buttons you click?
Yeah, like, so
if you don't want to do
yeah,
it,
so
then
I
don't
was
do
like,
it.
we
Mass Effect
recruited
had
this guy, and it was like, all right, and then there was an option to flirt because their heart next to it. Well, I didn't want to flirt with them, so I didn't. So I didn't see any of the stuff that some people are losing their minds over. It's like, bro, you're in charge of the buttons you press. Like, if you don't want to see the flirt, there's an option there where you're not going to flirt. So why don't you pick that? I don't know what it is. Like, yeah, you can make the argument that the romance stuff is pointless. And I would come back with you that romance stuff is pointless in every game that's ever come out. But they're there for people to roleplay.
Even Mass Effect?
Yes. The romance stuff in Mass Effect doesn't affect anything within Mass Effect. You could play that game and never
come on.
No, you can play that game and it doesn't affect anything. You could go through the whole thing and have Shepard be a celibate virgin, and it doesn't change anything. You can, but it doesn't change anything. Is my point.
But,
like, I mean, you strip it out of the game.
It can be impactful, like later in like Mass Effect 3 and stuff. Like if you go through that whole story arc, it could be really impactful.
It could, but if you get rid of it, you're not losing that much. It's there for people that might want to role play, because Assassin's Creed game is also an RPG because you can choose dialogue. They also introduced this thing called canon mode, which is odd because you can pick to play it and there won't be any dialogue options. And I think the dialogue options are all sort of fluff anyways. There isn't really anything to like that is gonna...
That makes a huge difference.
Yeah, so the romance stuff is in there for people that want to roleplay and want to play a game that way. So if you're someone who's like, I don't want to see Nawe with the girl, well, it's like, well, one, you don't have to see it in the first place if you don't do it, and if you do see it, you can just choose the opposite thing and not romance anybody. I don't get the outrage with it. I think it's just people trying to make a buck off of it.
It's performative outrage to some degree, but RJ Funtime just made me laugh in chat. We're having like a serious discussion about cultural issues, and then he just comes out with, "What about Miranda's ass?"
I mean, yeah, Miranda has a good looking ass, so to say. You know, and that's part of the reason why, yeah, my Shepard did romance Miranda. I mean, bro, they want you to, because the angles they shoot Miranda from in those games, they're very much...
Well, they removed those angles, dude.
I know. But still.
Oh, man.
I'm enjoying Assassin's Creed. It's not my favorite Assassin's Creed ever. I like Odyssey better than this one.
What is your favorite Assassin's Creed ever?
Assassin's Creed 2 is my favorite. I really like the Ezio trilogy. I don't really think Assassin's Creed got better than that trilogy, although Odyssey is pretty damn good. I like Odyssey more than this, but not that much more. I think it's because I vibe with Cassandra more than I vibe with Nawe and Yasuke, and I think I like the world of ancient Greece more than I like the world of
I think
of
I haven't
Japan
played
here. So
I kind of, as much as I rail on Ubisoft, I really want to, like, Valhalla's quite high in my backlog. I've never played it, but you know, it's kind of, I like that sort of culture in that setting. So I kind of want to on that basis. But like, I really love Black Flag. Like, I absolutely adore
Black Flag's good too. Black Flag's. I also want to make mention that Ubisoft sent me a code for this game, so just to be transparent, they did provide me with their code. to talk about the game. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's got flaws, like I said, but it's still a fun time. I'm 50 hours in and still having a fun time. I just wish these games were more compact. They weren't as big as it is because I feel like eventually, like the side stuff is kind of just whatever. But yeah, I like the game. Jez, I want to talk to you about these Gears E-Day tweets. You know, we
Oh, actually, before we talk about that,
oh yeah, you know what?
I just want to mention.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, I was gonna read. I forgot. I need to read some of these super chats and answer some of these questions. But go ahead.
Yeah, I'll do super chats first, and
Okay.
then I'll mention what I wanted
to. Jay Foley, super chat says, "Hey guys, hope you both had a good week. So with the rumors or leaks of Steam integration with Xbox, do you think this could also mean I could get my Xbox PC Game Pass games on my Steam Deck eventually?" What do you think about that, Jez?
Xbox PC Game Pass games on Steam Deck. Well,
you mean like Steam coming to like Game Pass coming to Steam? Because wouldn't that be the only way for that to happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would hope so. I mean, you can technically get PC Game Pass games on Steam Deck if you install Windows on it, which is a bit of a ball ache, and relies on some third-party drivers and stuff, and third-party tools for adjusting the TDP and things like that, right? You can do it, but I suppose like it's not the best experience. If you want like a native PC Game Pass stuff, I would love if Microsoft could link up with Steam on that. Maybe they will. I think it could be big, but I haven't got any information about that in the near term. But yeah, grab some more super chats. I'll look into it though. I'll see if there's a particular reason why for or against that, because obviously EA has some kind of deal with Steam for their subscription, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's just EA games that are on there, right?
Yeah, I suppose maybe they could do something like a Microsoft. Maybe I could do like Game Pass Core for Steam, which is just the Microsoft games. But
I also sort of feel
know.
like if they want a Game Pass on Steam, it'd already be there. Like even if it was a slimmed down version of Xbox's first party games only and not third party stuff, that it would be there. But then maybe they don't like. Obviously, Steam would want to cut, and maybe they're not. Maybe Xbox isn't willing to cut Steam in on that, or maybe they're wait. Maybe they. I don't know. Maybe they wait for this rumored integration. We'll have to wait and see. We'll talk about the rumored integration in a minute. We have. Let's see here. We have. Ryan Hodgins said, "Can you use VPNs on Xbox itself when gaming?" Jez.
You can, but you need a router that supports VPN. So some routers have a feature that lets you set up a VPN, or use a bridge like WireGuard or something like that. Surfshark VPN, which link in description if you want 86% off, has WireGuard support. And I noticed that my router also supports WireGuard, and that means like I can set up WireGuard with Surfshark to add it to my router, which means I could use my smart TV with the VPN, right? Because Samsung will control and block VPN apps from its system, I guess. Maybe you could sideload it if you've got an Android TV. I think there's an Apple TV app. But yeah, so if you did install it on your router, then you could use it with Xbox. And I think that's probably how some people do it in countries where Xbox isn't natively supported.
Okay. We got Me Puppet, who says, "In my opinion, they could have done more with backwards compatibility, but got lazy." That's an interesting take.
Okay, well, since he mentioned it, I will bring up what I was going to mention.
Okay.
And that was someone who's listening to show Source reached out to me and basically said that
Xbox is why we do it.
This is why we do it, yeah. So Xbox is still working through things with regards to the back catalog, I'll say.
of ABK?
So yes.
Okay.
So there are other things from ABK's back catalog which Microsoft is working towards, and I was just kind of told it's just work.
Mm.
So it does sound like there might be stuff
See,
coming.
this kind of goes back to the whole nobody cares how the hot dog is made. They just want the hot dog, right?
Yeah.
And they look at like how 17 months and you said you were going to do this and it's been a long time and so one makes one believe that none of these things will come and nobody
That'd be
wants
really quick.
the delve into the specific reasons why it may not come, like licensing issues or work. It's kind of boring. So
yeah, so it's kind of explained to me like Activision was not set up to be part of Xbox's platform, so they don't have a platform team to do this kind of stuff. The Microsoft's had to come in and set up new teams and do that kind of stuff. So it does sound like they are doing stuff. It's just work. It was the quote. So
yeah.
So I would say don't give up hope for that kind of stuff. Just have maybe we all need to have a bit more patience.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as far as like me Puppet's comment, they could have done more back and pat but got lazy. I mean, this is also based on some of the things I've been told. If they could have made every game back and pat, I think they would have. Honestly, I think
there is. It sounds to me like there's just bandwidth stuff. Like they've got a lot of work to do on Asus, ROG Ally, and things like that. Which is, that's a strategic kind of like. If we're talking about in country terms, that's like a matter of national security, I think, because that impacts Windows too, right? So it does sound like I just think like we just need more patience from based on what this source told me.
I think they got as many games as they possibly could, with the licensing to be able to legally add them to backwards compatibility. I don't really think it has anything to do with like being lazy. I think it was just
it's not lazy. It does sound like there's still licensing things to be worked on, but it's like more complicated licensing things.
I think Jason Rowell even talked about, or maybe it was I forget the previous guy who did this, who now works at Epic, but one of the like biggest hurdle was mostly just it was licensing, figure out what company owned the rights to it. Maybe that company's defunct now, so it's like you can't really do it, So
yeah,
I don't think it's anything to do with laziness. I think it was just like they legally got all the games that could possibly get there. And I think if it was like one of those things where it's like we could have done the entire catalog and not have to worry about legality, the entire catalog would probably be there. But
yeah, we'll see. Don't give up. Yeah. I'll say that.
We got Rave Damos. Super Chat says, coming from Xbox, the update environment is my least favorite part of the ROG Ally. Windows updates, store updates, my Asus and Armory updates. How is that going to work on a PC with an Xbox shell?
Yeah, so I think that's the point. That's why they're doing the work, I think, right now. I suppose we'll know for sure what that looks like when it comes to Project Kennen. So because I agree, one of the issues that I always had with the ROG Ally was this whole sort of like there's multiple update paths with that shit, right? It's like Windows Update is for Windows, and then you've got the ROG Ally Armory Crate app. But you've also got the My Asus app, right? Which you might not even know about. Some of the updates are handled through that, and some of the settings are handled through that, like smart charging and stuff like that. So like, you might have a bunch of updates to download through the My Asus app if you haven't done it already. But I think that the Kennen will give us a better view of how they're going to handle some of this, and I think a lot of it will just be through the Microsoft Store. Because I think Microsoft wants to streamline that process as much as possible. But some of these, one of the issues they've got with this stuff is that Lenovo and Asus and some of these other companies, they're kind of like they put a lot of custom driver work in there rather than just a generic driver stuff. And when they do that, it means that the driver updates can't be delivered through AMD's platform or Windows Update. You have to wait for Lenovo to do their shit on it, right? Surface has this issue too, actually, to some degree, or it did in the past. I don't know what it's like now. But when my Surface Book, uh, the NVIDIA drivers on that were often like behind where the generic driver was. So these are all things that Microsoft has to solve, and I want to believe that they've got like, you know, a full bore plan for this stuff, but we'll see.
All right. We got BT Maverick, who says if Xbox can add a desktop mode to current gen consoles like the Steam Deck, would there be a lot of red tape they would have to step over licenses? I mean, current.
Yeah,
I don't.
I don't know.
I don't see
Hard
them
to
at
say.
one. I don't see them adding a desktop mode to current gen consoles. So Series X.
Oh no.
Like that ain't happening.
Yeah, that.
Like I think it all comes down to the execution. Which I mean, I guess we could talk about the UI thing now because that kind of dovetails into it. Because this week Xbox was at GDC, and who knows what they're talking to people. I know they gave some Xbox Play Anywhere stats, which we'll probably talk about in a little bit thing. But the thing that made the most noise was a UI mockup that they did for some of the things at GDC, where it showed like the Xbox consoles, it showed a handheld, it showed mobile phone, it showed a laptop, and it had this Xbox user interface on each one of the screens. And people looked at it, and it's kind of was like your My Games breakdown, where it had like all and owned, and owned was on there twice for whatever reason, and action adventure, but one of the tabs was Steam, which got people talking, because it's one of those things that Phil talked about, didn't directly mention Steam, but the idea of itch.io or Epic Game Store being on Xbox, and this idea that we know that Xbox wants like their app on PC to be the one-stop shop for PC gaming, kind of like GOG, where it's like, oh, you load up your library and it shows all your Xbox games that are on the PC, but then also all your Steam library games or your Epic games or whatever. And it got people thinking, like, is this what the next Xbox and the next generation is going to be? These rumors that have persisted for a long time about how Microsoft wants this device to be like the every device. And, like you can say like the pitch, if the elevator pitch is like, imagine a device, an Xbox device that plays all your Xbox games, has Game Pass, but also has Steam on it, and you could play all the games you own from Steam and other stores in one convenient package. It's a nice little pitch, especially when you combine like everything Xbox is doing with Play Anywhere and cloud saves and everything.
I think on top of that, you have to drop the paywall for multiplayer.
Well, yeah,
you absolutely have to drop
it. You would have to drop it, and and most of the big games nowadays are. You don't need it. You don't need Xbox Live Gold to play Fortnite or Warzone or Rocket League or the free to play games. Like it's only really used for what? Call of Duty, regular multiplayer that comes out every year, and that's really it. I'm struggling to even think of another big game that actually is required to have to play. Everything else is free to play. So this got people talking and debating about, okay, what does this mean? Is this a mistake? Did some person do this mock-up and it was just wrong, even though it would have been approved from the people that image it, and I'm sure somebody would have looked at it and saw Steam, because it wasn't like Steam was hidden. It was right there. So there's that aspect of like the idea of somebody just made a boo-boo and people didn't give this user interface a second glance. Or is this like the future? Did we just see Microsoft's part of Microsoft's roadmap into next generation about like, this is what we expect an Xbox experience to be in a couple years on PC, maybe on console? And I think we've debated this before, because I always question like, putting Steam, selling a device with your platform on it, but then also having the ability to be like, I can also access Steam, is like, what does Microsoft get out of that? I mean, I could see why Steam would be like, yeah, sure, whatever. We'll take a cut from those sales, and maybe those people become PC people and they'll just buy from us directly anyways. Whatever, what's in it for them? You know, like Microsoft takes a cut and they might be fine with it. But it's like, okay, what does Microsoft get out of that? Like, I don't know. So like we've talked about this at length before, and like, would it actually work? And I've seen other people talk about it. Like Derek Strickland thinks like if this is true, then this is Microsoft's soft. This is Microsoft's way of exiting hardware completely. Like if this was true, you know, a lot of different opinions about it. So Jez, what do you think? One, do you think it was a mistake, just a little boo boo, and someone got fired at Xbox for coming up with that? Or do you think this is like them really just kind of like showing their hand and then being like, oopsies, and then maybe gauging the feedback to see what people really think about it? Because it's not like the Steam icon was hidden. It was right there.
No. I think like I think they didn't expect it to be interpreted the way it was interpreted. I don't think they were trying to be sneaky or anything necessarily, or gauge feedback, because I think that is the Xbox app. You know, it's the Xbox PC app. It's not necessarily going to be what the UI for the next Xbox console looks like. But, you know, maybe it is, but there was it's just basically a reorganization of what's already there, because if you run the Xbox Game Bar on PC in compact mode, it already pulls your Steam games in. So it's not necessarily a super new feature. It's already sort of like if you are rocking a ROG Ally or Lenovo Legion Go and using the Game Bar, you know, especially if you're going to buy a Canon, you know, you'll be able to navigate that with your controller and just access your Steam library out of the box. I know Microsoft's been looking at some of these software platforms that do this already. I can't remember their names off the top of my head. Maybe someone in chat knows. But there are sort of apps, that third-party library consolidation apps for gaming on Windows, which already do this, which let you install, let you use their APIs to sort of consolidate all the storefronts into one platform, right? I know Microsoft's been looking at these, and you know, a lot of these companies like Steam have APIs for surfacing this kind of functionality already anyway. So I don't think it's particularly, that image itself is not particularly a revelation, I think. You know, it's not necessarily, I mean, I go into detail in my article about it, you know, as you know, if people read past the headline. But I think what it does hint at, like, is Microsoft is thinking heavily about making Windows a lot friendlier to use, and because, you know, they are still the stewards of Windows, and they're in charge of making it a better experience potentially. And there's been complaints for years about the fact that there's so many different launchers and so many different hoops you have to jump through sometimes to get into games, if all you want to do is boot up a game and get in. And you know, I suppose they want to consoleize it to some degree and make it easier to access and all that kind of stuff. So while I think this image particularly was PC oriented, it does make you wonder if they are sort of gonna use this as the front end for whatever becomes of the next Xbox. If it is Windows based, are they just gonna use the app as the sort of the shell, you know, and just develop it all as one sort of system, and maybe lock people to the app rather than allow people to, you know, hit the desktop and do all that kind of extra stuff that people don't want to do with a console at the end of the day. But for my money, there would have to be far more work done to bring the PC app up to par with what we have on Xbox today. Like a monumental amount of work. So it's really hard to say where they're going with it. But I think Kenan will give us deeper hints about what their plans are there.
You see, when we talk about this, we always talk about executed. Like this, they need to execute perfectly for this. And I feel like a user interface like this because I always wondered, all right, sure, it's one way on the PC, sure, right, whatever. But I always wondered and pictured in my mind how this would work on their console, which is going to be a PC. Is it going to be just like, all right, it's a Steam, what Steam machines they tried to sell. Is it really like you're going to plug this into your TV, this Xbox console that's really a PC, and like you're going to have to, you're booting right into Windows, and there's the start button, and like you need to plug a keyboard in, right? Like what it would look like. Or is it just going to be like how it's always looked like, an Xbox user interface? Like how would you access Steam, or how would you access the other stores through this device? And that's where I said like execution would always kind of matter. Like, is it going to be hidden in a way where only like the true hardcore users would be able to like access it and be like, okay, this is what you need to do. You need to have you need to have your keyboard and mouse plugged in so you can access this stuff. Or could they essentially simplify it to the point where like you're on the store, and then maybe there's a button that says Steam, and then you click it, and then boom, kind of how like you can load up Microsoft Edge. There's like an app for it. They load it up and loads up Microsoft Edge, and then you're there in the browser on Microsoft Edge. So I always kind of like wondered.
That is essentially how it's going to be. Like they just only this week they pushed an update to Windows for being able to use the on-screen keyboard with a controller. You couldn't do that before, so it's all those kind of usability gaps where it's like, do I need to go through the Windows 10 unboxing experience, which is essentially like, need a mouse and keyboard and stuff like that. You can't set up a Windows PC with a controller today. Like on the ROG Ally, you have to use the touchscreen. So at least you can use a touchscreen, but that's not going to help you on a TV, right?
Right.
So it's all those things they need to fix, and they are potentially easy fixes. It's not like designing a Windows out of boxing experience that has a more of an Xbox flavor is something that's impossible to imagine.
How cool would it be, Jez, if you could just turn it on and it's like, boom, okay, you're on your Xbox. Here's all your Xbox stuff. You go into the store and there's just a button for Steam, and you click that and it just loads Steam, and you could spend money there if you want.
TV mode.
And you go back to your library.
That's how it'll be.
Well, because then it really does come down. If it's really that simple, where you like go into your game library and it's like, here's all your Xbox games that you own, and here's your Game Pass stuff, and there's another tab and it reads the Steam games that you potentially could download, and like, I'm gonna download this, but it's the Steam version and all that sort of stuff. If it was really that simple and that easy to play that, I mean, that could be a game changer. I'm not saying it will be a game changer, but if it was that simple, I mean, that could, I don't know. I mean, that could really be something.
It is gonna. I'm gonna bet money now. It is gonna be that simple.
Okay,
you're not gonna
really
have to plug
think
a mouse
it's gonna
in.
be that? Okay,
You're not gonna have to boot into desktop. You're not gonna have to run an executable. I think it is gonna be that simple. I don't see why it wouldn't be.
Well, because you never know. Because execution is, you never know with Microsoft. I'm just saying, you just never know, bro.
I think you can. I think Xbox knows that it has to be because it has to be customer grade. It has to be consumer grade with Xbox. I don't think they can just.
It has to be simplified, is basically what you're saying.
Yeah,
because part of the appeal of a console is the fact that it just works. Todd Howard, right? You could just buy it, take it out of the box, plug it into your TV, and it just works. There's like no driver updates. There's whatever. It's like, yeah, you might get updates for your controllers and your console, but it's super clean and efficient because, I mean, let's be honest, there are a lot of casual people that play on console, and they don't want to have to deal with the all the things you have to deal with on PC, even though it's not what like dealing with all that stuff on PC isn't. It used to be worse back in the day, and maybe it's a little bit easier now because it's been more streamlined. But when you're talking about a console, like, people just want it. It needs to be easy, So that's my hope, is that like it's like super easy to get into the games that you own elsewhere, and then that becomes a selling point. It's like, by the way, we have a device that literally plays every game, all the games. Not only all your games from your Xbox library at Game Pass, but if you're on Steam, you got all your games here too, and you could just easily play them with the push of the button. Like, oh, by the way, like,
and your PlayStation games.
well, that's the other point, and then that becomes like, does Sony care at that point? Would they block the device? Would they be like, you know what I'm like? You know, how petty does Sony want to get into the point where they're like, no, block it from that stuff? I don't know, but it's definitely super interesting to think about. And the only thing that I'm like kind of like I'm not sure about is I just don't know how Microsoft's going to execute on this. I just don't. But it would be, but the selling point would be really like everything, all your games.
The selling point would be amazing. Like I mean, it would be incredible. Like
especially with
even
how
if
like
even if the Sony games got blocked, like those like second party exclusives, like your Final Fantasy VII remake or your Silent Hill 2, I don't see them getting blocked. You know, and it's kind of like it's sort of it's transformative in a way. You know, and also it's going to help Windows 2 itself, because Windows is sort of stagnated a bit, I think, over the years, and people are sort of looking for alternatives to Windows all the time. Like when you go to the PC subreddit, people are always clowning on Windows and saying like, "Oh, get Linux," and then you get Linux and it's like, "Oh, nothing's compatible." So it's like, people want Windows to be better for gaming, you know, and I think with Xbox's involvement, I think that leads to a better product for everyone, you know. You end up with a platform. You know, people are always talking about how like Xbox misses out on certain games and stuff because developers prioritize PC and PlayStation. That problem goes away in this system. You know, so you get theoretically you get the best of all worlds. You get to keep your existing library. You get access to all the future games. It still functions like a console, and then maybe potentially you can even access, you know, PlayStation's own games on Steam and stuff like that. Other cloud services, NVIDIA GeForce Now, other apps, and you know, maybe there is a hardcore desktop mode, and maybe you can do your homework on it as well, or I can edit the podcast.
Do Excel on it. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Rocking Excel on my Xbox.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's I think having a device that can do everything is also one of the reasons why I think mobile sort of outpaced console. Because console is very much a fixed thing and doesn't really have the Swiss Army knife aspect of a PC or a phone to some degree. I think you kind of address that aspect of it as well. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's quite exciting and interesting, and I'm looking forward to see it, how it shakes out. But like you say, execution will be everything.
Yeah. Plus, what's the price point on this bad lad? You know,
price too. It might be expensive, boy.
Could be expensive, especially if they think they're not going to sell that much, and this is only for like the hardcore. So they might price it to the point where
it's a premium.
Yeah, where they're not going to lose money on it day one.
Yeah,
and it's like, this is just for the people that really want it. I don't know. So that's obviously going to be a thing. And we've seen the PS5 Pro come in at $700. Granted, it doesn't seem to be selling as good as the PS4 Pro, which came in at $400. You know, and all this talk about recessions in the market and everything, and we'll see.
Maybe the PS5 Pro is a blessing a bit, because Microsoft can look at that and be like, okay, we need to be a bit more aggressive here on price and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, the Series X is still selling for what, $499? I think it might have increased in other countries as well. So maybe they sell it for $699. Maybe they sell it for, I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea.
We've also got tariffs coming in soon.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes.
The tariffs go in April 1st, right?
I'm
April Fool's Day.
Yeah, April Fool's Day.
Yeah, Trump could do something hilarious. He could just be like, actually, the tariffs were just an April Fool's joke.
Yeah.
That would be like, that'd be just everything, man. But I don't know. Dynamic. I'm excited. I'm excited for things to see things changed up, because you know what, Rand? This was the vision of the original Xbox.
Mm.
This was the vision that Bill Gates was sold on. Is like a Windows device for your living room, and you could do a lot of homebrew stuff with the original Xbox. You know, people were using it for all kinds of weird shit because it did, you know, basically just run Windows. Um, so I think it could be really exciting. Like this could be an emulation god. This device.
Mm.
You know, if you're into your emulators and, you know, emulating classic games, legally so, of course, and you based on your localized territory. Don't sue me, Nintendo, please. Um, uh, this could be like amazing for emulation. This could be like the ultimate everything console, you know, because you ain't running emulators on a PlayStation without like some serious hack jobbery. You know, and Xbox has already, even the current Xbox has proven itself to be decent for emulation, but this could be an even more friendly. If it is just a Win32 device, it could just be even more friendly for emulation.
Yeah, explain that to people, because you wrote in your article that the era, not Xbox era, is in like
ERA.
the ERA of the
Call it ERA so we don't get
yeah.
confused.
So what is, so you said basically that they're moving everything over to Win32 development, and that they're going to phase out the ERA of Xbox One, Xbox Series development or something.
That was a bit of speculation on my part. You know,
So
I don't know if they're going to
people took that as the gospel truth, bro. What do you mean?
Oh well. I don't know if they're going to completely depreciate ERA, but like if the next console is Win32, and you know, I know that it is, but I don't know if they're going to just lock devs out of developing for ERA. You know, especially if like the next gen Xbox has backwards compatibility, developers are going to want to keep making games for Xbox One and Xbox Series S and X because there's still millions of users there. So a developer might be
now.
like, well, yeah, for now, I want to keep using ERA so I can address that audience, you know. But as like more and more people upgrade to the next gen Xbox, presumably, or you know, move to cloud or whatever happens in the market, eventually they'll be like, oh well, I'll just use the Steam version instead, you know. And that's when we get to a point where like that development environment gets depreciated. Kind of like with the 360. Nobody's developing for PowerPC anymore, right? So it's just kind of, that's just the way it's gonna go, you know. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know the timelines, of course. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, we'll see. We got RDX on effect. It says Xbox finally has a console coming that everyone wants in America, staring at a global trade war and possibly a depression. Sad. Xbox 2, the Jez Show. JK.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of funny how like the trade war is going to impact American businesses uniquely. You know, I've seen like European stock markets are flying right now. Like a lot of, you know, venture capital is moving money to Europe and moving money to the UK, which is crazy. Um, but like that's going to have an impact on Microsoft, and probably even help Sony too as we look further into the abyss, I suppose. But you know, everything's fluid, you know, and there's always these suggestions that um, you know, the tariff stuff is a negotiating tactic and to try and win concessions on other aspects of international relations, you know. And it has worked in some degrees, you know, because uh the Trump administration, I think, intentionally makes itself so unpredictable that it kind of causes knee-jerk reactions to in some in some countries to just offer up concessions, but like other countries will call bluff, I think. Like the European Union, like for example, the UK didn't impose any reciprocal tariffs, right? Because I don't think they're in a position to. But the European Union is very much in a position to do that. Because they're, you know, fucking massive market. And they can be like, well, you tariff us, we'll tariff you back, you know. So I think we'll see how that all plays out. But everything's always changing, man. That's the sort of the pandemic was 5 years ago, dude. 5 years ago the pandemic started now. Can you believe that?
It's been a long time, right?
It doesn't feel like it.
No.
I feel like time is gone all weird and warpy now.
Bro, we were in year 3 of Xbox 2 when that happened, and now we're in year 8.
That's
So
crazy.
there's been more time post-pandemic for Xbox 2 than there was time pre-pandemic of Xbox 2.
That just doesn't register with me.
I know.
So
right?
strange. Like we literally lived through an event of history. Like we're like in like 30, 40 years, there'll be like kids in history learning a textbook. Oh, there was a big pandemic that caused a global recession, the biggest market crash in history, and all this kind of shit. Yeah. We lived through it, man, and we survived. And I think we'll also survive Xbox putting Steam on their next console.
We'll see, Jez. We'll see. We got Andy Super Chat says Team Rand today. Jez has a goat for a side chick. You have a goat for a side chick?
Wait, what?
You have a goat for a side chick, bro?
A goat?
Yeah. Andy's Team Rand today. He says you have a goat for a side chick. I didn't know this. What's her name?
I don't know.
Hmm.
Liv Morgan.
Liv Morgan is anything but a goat, bro.
She's the greatest of all time, bro.
Yeah. We got Senior Bean says, how would they handle older PC games that have a mini config window before you launch the game? No idea, Jez. How would they handle those things? Jez doesn't even know. He's stunned silent. How would they handle older PC games that have a mini config window before you launch the game?
Well, those are the questions Microsoft's going to have to answer,
Yeah.
It's kind of annoying on when some of this stuff pops up on, the Steam Deck, for example. You have to sometimes it just doesn't work, and then you have to start messing with the touchscreen. I think that's why the Steam Deck includes touchpads for those scenarios where you have to, figure that out, right? But that's all on Microsoft to sort out. I mean, they're gonna have to make those old Win32 prompts. They're gonna have to make those navigable with a controller. I don't know how they do that, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Also things like I don't know, user account control or the networking pop-up that comes up, all that kind of stuff. They've got to figure out, because there's also that presents a security issue in some cases. And also one thing I've always been told is Microsoft is always Windows and Microsoft are always a target of nation state attack. You had the big Russian email hack from, was it last year? It was about this time last year, right? So they're constantly looking for different attack vectors, which is why certification takes longer on Xbox too, because it's there's a legitimate concern that a hostile state actor could potentially submit an indie game to the back end of Microsoft and somehow infect it or something those are legitimate concerns. So all these kind of things they're gonna have to figure out, which is why around the 2027 date, which I think is what I heard was the target landing strip for this. I kind of feel like that's a bit ambitious, but we don't really know.
Bro, there are people out here guaranteeing with their sources that it's 2026, bro. What do you mean?
Yeah. So I think 2027 is ambitious, but I am known to be a bit cynical sometimes.
Well, I mean, we did see their roadmap from the leaked FTC thing where they were planning on launching something in 2028, but that was from 2022, so they clearly changed their plans. Did they speed up whatever they were planning on doing to hit 2027? Will they hit it? We'll see. I mean, they haven't really given an inkling either way, so you never know with how these things go. But sure, it could be delayed. They could delay everything to 2028. Who knows? That's maybe just how it ends up, or maybe they plan for it correctly and 2027 is the way to go. Um, but yeah, I wanted to talk about you. You played FBC Firebreak. I did see big
I
previews
didn't
coming up.
play
You
it.
didn't play it, but you got to see more of it, right? I watched the
Yeah,
trailer.
saw it.
Looks
We
really
saw it
cool.
getting played.
I mean, I kind of think Remedy's one of my favorite developers out there. Control and Alan Wake 2. I mean, they really haven't let me down with any of their games. And I know some people don't like them. And this is definitely a departure from their normal type of games they make.
Mm.
This is first person. This is also a multiplayer shooter or a co-op game, very much in the vein of Left 4 Dead, in that aspect of it. But did you? Speaking as you're probably a non-Remedy fan because you don't got the
No,
patience
I'm
to
a
play.
Remedy fan.
No, you're not. Did you play Alan Wake 2? Did you play it?
No.
Did you play Quantum Break?
Yeah, I reviewed Quantum Break.
Okay, you did
Gave
review
it 10
Quantum
out of
Break.
10.
Okay, what about Control?
Everyone got mad at me. I've tried to play Control, but I struggled to control my boredom while playing that game.
Oh my god. So what did you think of what you saw of FBC Firebreak?
I've been playing Control recently actually because of FBC Firebreak. Because it's basically a sequel spin-off to Control. It takes place
even though Remedy
6
just
years after
said
the
that
events of
Control 2 is now in full production. So there is a direct sequel coming, but yes, this is set in the Control universe.
Yeah, this is set 6 years after the events of the original Control. So God knows how many years Control 2 will be after. But FBC Firebreak is, like you said, more of like a Left 4 Dead kind of thing. And I am a Remedy fan, even though like I haven't gone through Alan Wake 2 yet, and I haven't played through Control yet. But I do love Max Payne. I do love Quantum Break. I do love the original Alan Wake. And I've always I find that games to be fascinating, partially because I'm such a big Twin Peaks fan. And I kind of feel like Sam Lake is quite clearly wants to be the David Lynch of video games. I think that's pretty clear from everything he does. So yeah, I was intrigued, like how does Remedy preserve its identity in a game that is a multiplayer service game in essence, right? And I think they don't really want to call it a service game because it is going to be a premium game. All the content in the game is going to be there at launch. They are going to do post-launch updates and add new stuff, but they're not going to do battle passes. They're not going to do FOMO, and everything that you can purchase is going to be heavily optional, cosmetic. And they kind of want it to be a friendlier kind of multiplayer kind of game. And you can look to things like Left 4 Dead or Deep Rock Galactic for an example of the kind of live service this will be, right? Where it's like as unpredatory as humanly possible. To that end, they've took the Game Pass bag and also the PlayStation Plus bag.
Yeah, so it's launching.
To try and give it.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. We haven't really seen many games do that. Is this the first one that's doing both? No, I think was one other. I think there was that RPG, Sea of Stars. I think was it Sea of Stars? There was there was a JRPG that actually launched on both at the same time. So this isn't the first time, but I think this is a good idea.
Yeah, it gives it that free-to-play style boost it gives it a pre-installed install base by being on those platforms, I think. So I think that's a really smart play by them to sort of introduce people to the universe. Because obviously it doesn't have Control in the name, but they want it to sort of live on its own 2 feet, right? But yeah, I got to see behind closed doors, digital closed doors, some gameplay of one of the missions, which they called. Oh, what did they call it now? I can't remember off the top of my head. Can't remember. It was in the trailer, but it's basically like one of the jobs in the game you can do. So, as a member of FBC Firebreak, you are sort of part of a volunteer force that is locked inside the oldest house from Control.
Mm-hmm.
So the oldest house Control is like the office building where the Federal Bureau of Control, I kind of hang out in there. It's their office building, but it's also like this interdimensional sort of back room style living building, right? So Control is the whole universe of Control is kind of inspired by I kind of feel like the bit of X-Files, the bit of Twin Peaks, but it's also a bit of SCP. I don't know if you're aware of SCP, Rand, at all, but SCP is like this community collaborative project where um people sort of design anomalies and monsters and stuff. Stuff like the back rooms or you know, I can't remember some of the famous ones off the top of my head. But like there's a shitload of video games on Steam based on SCPs as well. Because it's sort of like this open source licensing model where anyone can make an SCP and the community kind of upvotes the different monsters and stuff like that. So I kind of feel like there's some riffing on that with this. And because like anything in this universe can be an anomaly that has to be controlled by the Federal Bureau of Control, that really means like that can literally do anything with this universe. So one of the first mission I saw, because the Firebreak crew are kind of part of the Federal Bureau of Control that are sort of locked in this building. They've quarantined themselves to stop the anomalies escaping and running rampant, basically. So to that end, you kind of end up in a situation where they don't have access to the proper weaponry. They don't have access to the outside world. There's no one coming to help them or save them or anything like that. They're kind of screwed in a way. So all they've got left is all they've got access to is office equipment and random bits of junk and all kinds of stuff they can make makeshift weapons out of. Which leads to sort of a variety of interesting outcomes with regards to tools you can use, but also enemies. So the first mission we saw was a mission where post-it notes had gone rogue. Post-it notes. So there's these anomalous.
I saw that in the video.
Yeah, anomalous post-it notes which are coalescing into monsters, wraiths, demons, and a post-it note titan, while also giving you debuffs like plastering your screen with post-it notes, so you can't see what you're doing and stuff like that. And some of the toolkits you get in the game will help you protect against those debuffs. Like one of the characters is one of the defense kits. I think they call them crisis kits, which is kind of like your character classes, right? One of them sort of like a healer kind of spec, and the healer can wipe the nasty debuffs and also like heal the characters and stuff like that. But there's also like a traversal kit which lets you bounce over the map with a sort of pneumatic jump pad thing. And then there's like a variety of classic weapons and with dwindling ammo supplies and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, watching it in action, it did just give me the heavy sort of Left 4 Dead vibes, complete with complete with the sort of, I don't know what you call them, the safe rooms. Each map is split into 3, and then there's a safe room, and so on and so forth. And then there's and then you get rewards at the end after a boss fight and all kinds of stuff like that. So it's sort of like, but you have to watch the trailer really, because it's the feel of the game that looks really good for me. It looks like it plays well. It looks like, the control. One of the cool things about Control when I was playing it, the physics. The physics are always really satisfying in Remedy games for some reason. The physics and the combat effects look really, really cool. And I think that comes well and translates really well into a multiplayer game, because it's all going to be hijinks, interacting physics engines and systems, and kind of creating those emergent gameplay moments which become viral clips and memories for playing with your friends, right? So 3-player co-op, it's coming to Game Pass summer 2025. And I think it looks really good. I think it could be a thing, man. I think it really could be a thing.
I mean, I agree. I just sort of wonder, will the game last after it eventually gets removed? But I think a lot of people are definitely going to check it out because it's going to be available on their favorite subscription service. And maybe that's what it needs in this day and age to kind of overcome the saturation of the market of everybody has already the game that they want to play. Although I wouldn't say any of them are kind of they're all multiplayer games, and this is a co-op game. So
Yeah. No
yeah,
PvP or anything like
very
that.
curious how this one's gonna perform, and I feel like I need to play it considering I'm really into like the Control Alan Wake universe, and this is set, in that universe, and it's like, all right, so I'm definitely very interested in when this comes out. So I'll be looking to play it when it does. Now, before we kind of talked about Assassin's Creed and stuff and got through the super chats, I brought up these Gears E-Day tweets because it was something me, you, and Tom Warren talked about on Tuesday about Gears E-Day. And I mentioned that Tom's been banging the drum about Gears E-Day releasing this year since it was revealed last year, really, right? And I put the question to him: do you think that it's gonna come out this year? And he gave a very diplomatic answer, one that wouldn't put him in a in a bind either way, I guess, right?
Yeah.
It was, what did he say? He wouldn't be surprised if it was 2026, but he wouldn't be surprised if it hit 2025. It's like, so you're really sticking your neck out on that one, huh? Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it could be next year, but it'll also be this year. Ooh, all right. The reason to bring it up is because the voice actor for Cole and the voice actor for Dom both posted Gears E-Day tweets at like the same time. And people are wondering if that meant something. Some people thought it was going to show up at the future game show for whatever reason, because like South of Midnight was going to be there or whatever. And I'm like, Gears E-Day is not going to be at the future game show. What are you smoking?
Hey, what are you talking about? Future game show is amazing.
Not your future game show, or was it your? Was that your game show?
It is. Okay. Yeah, it's our fucking game show, bro.
So the game show that just happened,
like some respect,
2 days ago or whatever, was it?
Yeah, Future Game Show.
All right.
It's owned by Future.
I didn't know that was yours. Central. Okay.
And I'm corporately mandated to say it's the best game show of all time.
Did you have anything to do with it?
Oh, so much. So much to do with it.
You honestly had so much to do with it? Or are you just saying
I basically made it. I basically made it myself.
Okay. You're pulling everyone's leg here. It's probably not even by Jez's company. So
no, it is. It's Future Game Show is our company. So it's the same company that does the PC game show. Future Game Show is Future PLC. So it's run by Future's events team.
Right.
And I think there is some mild involvement with Games Radar and stuff like that. Windows Central's not involved. We're too small. Future's a huge company, man. They own Metal Hammer and Marie Claire and all these kind of huge. Yeah. You've never heard of Marie Claire?
What's Marie Claire? Maybe I have.
It's a chicks magazine.
Never heard of it.
Oh, God.
Well, actually, maybe I have. I don't know. It's not ringing a bell, but I might have.
Well, you know, Tech Radar and PC Gamer.
Yes.
And
I know
Games
Tech
Radar.
Radar. I know PC Gamer. Yes. I know Windows Central.
All these big fry. Windows Central is not a big fry in this universe.
Well, anyways, the Future Game Show happened, and Gears E-Day wasn't there. So now people are wondering, what do these tweets mean? Why did both these voice actors tweet out Gears E-Day stuff? And I don't know. I don't know. Like, talking to Tom about it, it was kind of like he wasn't hedging his bets. He was like, I wouldn't be surprised if it was this year, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was 2026. So I sort of feel, because he was
get delayed.
He was also very much like, Gears Collection's real and it's happening like this year. It's like, oh, finally, Special Nick's going to be vindicated 3 years into it, right? And he also...
Wow, you're being messy today.
What do you mean? 3 years.
To quote Cognito.
3 years.
That's Cognito's thing. He calls people messy. You're being messy.
Who am I being messy to? I'm not being messy to anybody.
You're bullying Nick. You're bullying Tom Warren.
I didn't bully.
You're gonna
repeating
beef
what
with
Tom Warren said. Tom Warren said, "Wouldn't be surprised if it was this year. Wouldn't be surprised if it was next year." How else are you supposed to take that answer?
You're always mean to Nick.
No,
I have no idea why he puts up with you.
Nick is great.
I have no idea. Like, I'm really nice to Nick. You're not very nice.
Yeah, you're the one who kept on sending him the Xbox shrimp thing, and people still keep on tweeting him sometimes.
Well, he shouldn't have made a shrimp thing.
And Tom did kind of make it seem like Gears Collection is definitely this year and is not going to have multiplayer, which was the rumor that was floating around, right? Which is kind of goes against what you said, because you're like, of course it's going to have multiplayer, and Tom was like, no, it won't. So I thought that was funny.
What, the Gears Collection?
Yeah, remember we were talking about the Gears Collection?
I mean, it's gonna have co-op.
Well, yeah.
I think that's what I meant.
Tom, the way Tom talked about it was like,
the current rumor is that it's not gonna have multiplayer.
Yeah.
PvP.
And you had mentioned that you didn't really believe that rumor because you were like, why would they remove multiplayer? Blah blah blah. But Tom made it seem like there was more going on behind the scenes. Like there was like issues the game kind of faced, which is maybe why it's just single player or something. I don't know. But anyways, you guys can go listen to that on Patreon right now. Don't listen to just me. Go listen to Tom Warren explain about it. Patreon.com/XB2. Links in the description. So
Tom's a smart one.
Do you think the Gears E-Day tweets mean anything outside of, hey, it's going to show up at the showcase? Do you think there's anything behind it? Or is just...
Well, how about this?
What?
How about this? Since you've also got a topic, this is one of the topics. What if it ties into a TV show?
Well, I mean, they did post the game poster, though. So, I mean, I don't know how it would tie it, and they're not going to be voice acting in the game, but sure. The Xbox... You
mean voice acting in the TV show?
Yeah, voice acting in the TV show. So, sure.
It might be.
The
anime one.
Sure, the anime one. I guess we'll just have to say, yeah, the more Xbox TV shows are coming because Phil Spencer said so. He was speaking to Variety.
Phil Spencer said so.
And he commented on Hollywood's recent interest in video game properties with movies like Super Mario Brothers and Sonic the Hedgehog. And he said, quote, "We learned from doing Halo." Basically, we learned never to do that again. "We learned from doing Fallout, which we want more of because Fallout was amazing." So all of these build on themselves. Obviously, we'll have a couple that miss. I don't know why you want to say obviously you have a couple that miss. That doesn't really give me strong vibes that you're going to get this right. Like, I don't know, you come out there and be like, obviously we'll have some misses. It's like, should that really be something that you want to come out and lead with? Like, we're going to have...
Who said that?
Phil. Phil says, obviously we'll have a couple that miss, but what I'd say to the Xbox community that likes this work is you're going to see more because we're gaining confidence and we're learning through this.
Maybe he was just... I want to believe he was maybe just acknowledging Halo there, maybe?
I mean, I don't know. I think it's more like, yeah, we're going to have some of these things, and guess what? Some of them are going to be stinkers. So
maybe he knows that one of them they've commissioned sucks.
Maybe potentially.
I've got a feeling the Minecraft movie is going to review
because that is coming
badly.
soon. But it does seem to have a very, very big marketing budget. I see something. Yaquin sent me something.
Saw it.
With Minecraft.
It's in the WWE.
McDonald's announced a Minecraft movie meal. And you get skins for the game or for the games and stuff. So it definitely seems.
I think this is what's going to happen in the Minecraft movie.
Okay.
It's going to critically bomb.
Okay.
Critics and hardcore gamers are going to hate it.
Mm-hmm.
Little kids are going to love it. I think little kids are going to absolutely love this movie, and I think it probably will do well at the box office.
For how big Minecraft is, if this movie doesn't reach $1 billion, failure. Absolute failure.
Really?
Absolute failure, bro. How much?
Isn't it a failure based on how much it costs to make?
Sure. Okay.
If it only costs like $50 to make,
we're talking about the biggest video game of all time that is mostly focused on the kids' demographics. So go to these movies multiple times to see.
Yeah.
So
you could have said that about the Mario movie, bro.
Mario movie made over $1 billion. What are you talking about?
No, I mean the '80s Mario.
Well, okay, that one was different, but the most recent one where it looked like, the games and it wasn't Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo in some weird adaptation. Like,
dude, I love that movie.
Right, even the Sonic movies. This most recent Sonic one, I think, was made $500 million. You mean to tell me
those are genuinely good movies, though?
Sonic 3 was good. I mean, they're good movies. I wouldn't call them great movies, but they're Jim Carrey's amazing in all three. But you're talking about
Jim Carrey's just a god. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a movie with Jim Carrey in that I didn't like.
Jim Carrey's amazing. Jim Carrey's
He's a
loves
god.
it.
He's a god, man.
But
he's a god.
So to me, yeah, you're right. If they spent $200 million on it and they need $600 million to break even, and it makes $700 million, so they make money, and then of course all the DVD. Well, they don't sell DVDs anymore, really, but all the rentals and all the digital purchases.
Maybe little kids
and all the
DVD
all the other
Christmas.
things that kids will buy. Sure, it probably, but like the game has to make $1 billion. A movie has to make $1 billion. It has to.
God.
It has to. For how big the IP is, it has to.
Putting some pressure on them, bro.
But bro, it's Minecraft. How could it not? And maybe this is what Phil's talking about. Obviously, we'll have some that miss. Yeah, you're probably right. I think like
I
older reviewers and stuff will probably.
That's what I think.
Yeah,
I think he's talking about that.
You can look down. I bet you. I make a prediction right now. The Rotten Tomatoes score for the Minecraft movie is probably going to be like 30%. But it doesn't really matter because it's made for kids.
I think it'll be lower than that.
Well, maybe.
I think we're looking at in the teens for Rotten Tomatoes. That's my prediction for this.
But what else? Because he says they got more coming, and the Netflix announcement is for Gears was some time ago. Remember they announced the Gears movie, and they announced a Gears anime show. So you figure there's got to be more shows in development than just, hey, the Minecraft movie's coming and the Gears stuff. What other things would you like to see from Xbox or the Xbox IPs?
Overwatch.
You want an Overwatch anime?
Overwatch
anime?
Yes.
Overwatch live action?
They announced the next hero for Overwatch, Freya, her name is. And they had like a little short where Freya meets some gangster. She's a bounty hunter, right? So she meets some gangsters. They do some gangstery kind of stuff. And then she gets into a little altercation. And I'm just sitting there thinking, like, it's like 5 minutes short, it's not long. But I'm sitting there thinking, this is just amazing. And then I went back and watched some of the older shorts, like the Bastion short, and like Pixar grade quality, like better than Disney. And I'm just sitting there thinking, how was there never already an Overwatch TV show? You've got all the lore, tons of lore. You've got great characters. You've got like a great animation style. There is no universe that exists where this shouldn't be an established Netflix anime. Like Overwatch is a pretty obvious one.
Overwatch. I did forget that Grounded is supposed to be a cartoon on Netflix. They did announce that.
That'll probably. Do you think they'll try and sync that with Grounded 2?
As best as they can, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose like it's up to Netflix at the end of the day.
But do you see anything else? Anything from like do we foresee a Perfect Dark movie or a?
How about this? An Ori cartoon.
Ooh, I like that. Ori cartoon could be pretty good.
Joaquin Branch says Banjo movie.
A Banjo movie. Maybe that's the only Banjo. What about Hellblade TV show?
No.
It's already a kind of a TV show.
How do you depict the amazing icon puzzles in the Hellblade TV show?
I don't know. I'm sure you could though.
You could. How about this, right? You do a Hellblade TV show. Did you ever watch that? What was it called now? That interactive. Was it called Bandersnatch? I think that interactive.
Yeah. Dark Mirror episode. Yeah.
Yeah, the Dark Mirror. So you know what you could do, Ran? What you could do is you could like have the Hellblade show, but then you could only watch the next episode until you've completed an icon puzzle using your phone remote controller. What do you think of that? I think that'd be great. That'd be more fun than the game.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think what other
franchises...
I mean,
that's basically what the game is.
What about it?
It's a TV show with some icon puzzle, right?
What about a Forza show?
Take my bait, you fucker.
I'm not taking your bait. I'm sorry. Sorry, not taking the bait on this one.
I'm trying to bait you, and you're just ignoring me. That's rude, man.
I mean, I know what you're trying to do. I'm not gonna fall for it. Sorry. So, what about a Forza show?
A Forza show like Fast and Furious or something?
A Forza show, yeah. I don't know, something
You
like
could
that.
cast Vin Diesel in it.
Yeah, why
You,
not?
what you could do is you could just like do a link up with Vin Diesel and just be like, this is like
Fast
Fast
and
and
the
the Furious :
presents
Forza.
Forza Horizon, or Forza
Yeah, or
Horizon
something like
presents
that.
Fast and the Furious, which they've already done. But yeah,
Have they really?
yeah, that was they
didn't
used
know.
like Forza Horizon 2 for that, and it was a separate game. It was like Fast and the
Shit,
Furious.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah, this was back in 2014, 2015.
Oh man,
It's a long time
Matt
ago.
Matt in chat says, uh, what about just wait until the Candy Crush movie? I think a Candy Crush movie.
If that ever happens, yeah, I don't know.
I think that'd work. I
But
don't know how you do it.
we'll see how the Minecraft movie does. I mean, I don't know. Would you? I guess you say like, is Halo done? Because I know people are like, oh, Netflix gonna save it, but judging from like the numbers, nobody cares about Netflix on Halo, or nobody cares about Halo on Netflix, really.
Nobody cares about Halo. You could have just stopped the sentence
No,
there.
no, people care about Halo if it was good,
Nah.
if it was really good. Look at, dude, are you mean to like Fallout?
It's been too long. It's not coming
Look
back.
how
It's over, bro.
I would always argue that I think that Halo was more well known than Fallout was, but somehow
No.
yes, absolutely. In the
No.
wider, not
Nah.
in the wider like grand scheme of things, yes.
Definitely not anymore.
Well, no, but that's the thing. Like Fallout was able to satiate the hardcore fans while bringing on casual viewers who had no idea about the franchise and keep them entertained to the point where they just wanted more and more and they can't wait for season 2.
Perfect.
Right?
Perfect.
So it's perfection. Like Fallout was simply incredible. I mean, you could do what Last of Us is doing on HBO, where it's like a faithful, almost scene for scene adaptation of the game. It's so good that like regular people also love it. But I just wonder if they're ever going to take another step at Halo on screen. You know, does Netflix be like, okay, we want a new Halo, but we want Halo that's not Master Cheeks. We don't want them showing cheeks and banging the Covenant. You know, I don't know what they do.
Hang on a sec. He banged the Covenant?
Yeah, he banged the human Covenant person.
Wait, what? There was a human Covenant?
Yeah, there was a young girl that the Covenant like took as a young kid that she grew up, and she was like part of the Covenant. She was this human, and then
She was abducted by aliens.
she was
Abducted.
by the Covenant and grew up as like the Covenant, and her and John banged, bro.
Is that in the game? Is that in the lore of the game?
No, the lore, they made up the lore for this. It was called the Silver Age. It was their own lore that they made.
Gross.
Yeah, so
It would have been more interesting if he banged the alien.
right, if he who he bring like the heretic prophet or one of the prophets or something.
No, do the Sangheili not have women?
I don't know.
Or he could have banged a hunter, and the hunter worms could have just formed.
Could you imagine? The hunters are just worms.
I think I'm going a bit crazy.
Yeah,
actually.
I think you are too. So we'll see. I mean, there's plenty of things that they could do.
No.
I mean, hell, you know, it's kind of funny.
Don't clip that.
It's funny, like Xbox was kind of like ahead of the game with their TV stuff with the Xbox One, but too early again and not good enough. Because you remember those Quantum Break episodes, right? I mean,
I like
they
them.
were okay, but
I mean, I think like for a first try in that kind of space, I think they were really good.
I mean, I think it was.
There's a couple of scenes in that which are really fucked up with Littlefingers. I can never remember what the actor's name is. The guy from Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
That's
I know
known as
what you're talking
Littlefinger.
about. Yeah, Littlefinger.
Some of the scenes with him are just grim. Like when he's sort of going down that path of insanity.
Yeah.
Fucking loved it. I was like, fucking
Quantum
hell,
Break.
that's dark.
Where's my sequel? That's what I want. Remedy, Xbox, get together, use this new partnership with Xbox's multi-platform and being like, all right, let's just put Quantum Break 2 everywhere. Let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's get that done.
Or at the least give it back to Remedy, let them make a sequel. Kojima could co-produce it, man.
Could.
Kojima and Sam Lake.
What do you think about this new PlayStation studio?
Wait, what?
So,
I'm out of the loop again.
so you remember? Oh God, what was the Deviation Games? It was
Nope. Who were they?
they were making a game exclusive. They were like an independent studio, but they were aligned with PlayStation. They were making a game, and it was like the Treyarch guys, Jason Blundell, I think, who was like the head Treyarch guy for Call of Duty for so long. He left, formed that studio, and they were working on some game with PlayStation, but didn't turn out so well because basically everybody got fired. I think the studio still exists, but hardly anybody works there. Well, the rumors are always where that like he and a bunch of people from that studio went and formed a new internal PlayStation studio, and he basically admitted that in like a new interview that happened this week, and even gave the name. It's like Grave Strike or something. Let me see if I can find it.
Grave Strike.
What's the name of the studio? Let's see here. Dark Outlaw Games with Call of Duty Zombies lead Jason Blundell. The new first party.
How did you go from Grave Strike?
I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking of.
You're thinking of 4XP.
I must be.
4XP drinks.
So the new studio, Dark Outlaw Games with Call of Duty Zombie lead Jason Blundell. The new first party studio comes from one of the minds behind Treyarch's beloved COD Zombies, and apparently they've been working on something for like 2 years. But it was Jeff Gertzman had this interview with him where he basically said, "Yeah, we got this new studio, and here's our new studio name." So, you would imagine they're working maybe something shooter related, considering the pedigree and stuff. So,
I just hope it's not another wasted venture from Sony, I guess, because they've been trying.
Well, I mean,
they've been trying.
Helldivers 2 was a big success.
Yeah, but
Concord
sounds like Sony didn't believe in that game.
What they
what the studio head of Arrowhead Games? He was talking to GDC and he said Sony execs phoned him up all pissed because did you see this?
No, I didn't see it.
Yeah, Sony execs phoned him up all pissed because when they had the server issues at launch, he tweeted out something like, I feel free to get a refund while we fix the server issues, or don't buy the game yet because we want to fix the server issues, something along those lines. And then Sony exec phoned him up all pissed, like, "What the hell are you doing?" Oh man, but I don't know. I do sort of I'm really, I suppose saddened isn't the word, but it is sort of like, I don't know. After watching Sony just have so many wins over the years, over the course of the Xbox One generation especially, to sort of go to this company that's shut down more studios than even Xbox itself recently. It's kind of like, I don't know. Saddening is not the right word, but it's like how the mighty have fallen kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean,
they're having their ZeniMax moment where ZeniMax was like, "Oh shit, we need multiplayer games. Let's make a multiplayer Wolfenstein. That'll do really well." And it was just trash. They're kind of having their sort of
let's make a multiplayer Fallout.
Moment.
Trash.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that eventually became something, but Sony didn't even want to give Concord shit.
But I mean, that really hurt Bethesda's reputation for a long time. It still sort of kind of hurts them to a certain degree.
Yeah, to some degree,
the
Ghoul update just dropped, and the game's
I mean, it's
again.
good now, but I mean, that doesn't excuse how that game launched when it first came out. And it kind of began the disillusionment with Bethesda and Todd Howard, right? Because Todd Howard sold that game. Just works, I think, is what he said, and the people memed it or whatever, because it didn't just work when it came out.
No,
they didn't have any expertise with that stuff, which is, I guess you can kind of...
The engine just wasn't really designed for it.
Yeah, and you look at what PlayStation, they went to this whole thing where, like, we want live service stuff, and a lot of studios were pitching these ideas, and the first one was great, and then all of a sudden, Concord was just epic disaster, and they're like pulling back on it all, but they still want to do it, clearly. They want to do it with some of them. So, yeah. But that definitely kind of reminds me of, like you said, Bethesda a little bit there.
I suppose like Sony could like risk its reputation. I suppose the fact that it's sort of a lot of new IP, I suppose, is kind of like helping them avoid that damage to the reputation. And I do wonder, like, if you look at uh what they did with The Last of Us Factions 2 or whatever. Part of me wonders if like they were thinking about Fallout 76 when they cancelled that game. Because it was like, do we really want to do we really want to do brand damage to The Last of Us by shipping a shoddy multiplayer game, you know? But I guess we'll never know. Guess we'll never know.
Yeah. What do you think about People Can Fly confirming they're working on a game for PlayStation on a PlayStation IP, while also still working on a game for Xbox? And we know they're
That's
co-deving
most
with on Gears E-Day. And I think we've talked about this before. Project Maverick, which was the game that had like a $50 million budget with Xbox. Some people thought that, oh, maybe that's E-Day that they're co-deving, and then you said no, like they still have their own game. So now they're working on a game for Xbox and a game for PlayStation. What do you think about that?
I suppose it's interesting. I I want to. I'm gonna guess that it's a multiplayer too, right?
I mean,
Most likely.
we don't know what it is. I mean, we don't know even know what Maverick is. So
I would imagine these are all multiplayer games.
probably, or yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any sort of concern within maybe like one of the companies of like, hey, we want these people, your best people working on the Gears game, but then Sony might want the best people working on their game, or like you're giving too many like people were working on this game and we want them over here. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Remember when Platinum did Near Automata and then they also doing Scalebound and Xbox was really pissed off? Do you remember that at all?
Yeah. I mean, well, that was a rumor. I don't know if it was substantiated.
Sure, it's just a rumor, but you know, I wonder. I just sort of wonder like how that works. It's like you have the same company working on an exclusive Xbox game and then the same company working on a game for PlayStation. Is like, how do they divvy up the workforce? Is that explained in the contracts? Like this many people, right? And it's like who works where, and I don't know. It's really it's interesting. I mean, I like People Can Fly. So
Yeah, Bulletstorm was a good game, I think. Just too short.
Too short, huh? You know, one of the things about GDC that Xbox talked about was Xbox Play Anywhere, Jez. And apparently,
big
if
marketing blow up.
If you make your game Xbox Play Anywhere, people play it longer or more people play it.
Yeah, 20% engagement boost.
Yeah, because in the Windows Central article, it says, as announced last week, over 1,000 titles are now supporting Xbox Play Anywhere. When players purchase an Xbox Play Anywhere game, they can play on Xbox and Windows 10, 11 PCs at no additional cost, bringing their saves, progress, and achievements across devices. This means players can access their favorite games to more places, which has led to these titles getting 20% more playtime. So, if you're presented with that information, why wouldn't more devs want their games to be Play Anywhere then?
I suppose it comes down to, what Tom Warren said on XB2+1. The devs maybe just want to sell their games twice.
Yeah, that could be it.
Maybe there's no data about how much. There's no data out there about how big that market is of the idea of people buying games twice. We don't really know. We can only really speculate about exactly how much people are willing to buy games twice. Could be a lot of people, could be very few people. All I know is that I was personally disappointed when I saw that even Microsoft wanted me to buy the Diablo expansion twice. You know, because I'm like, hang on a sec, you're Microsoft, you're supposed to be to let me buy once, play anywhere kind of people. But I had to buy that expansion twice, but that's an expansion. And a service game. I would be really curious to know what the overlap is for like more regular kind of game. You know, how many people buy those games twice, especially if they don't have cross save support. I Baldur's Gate 3, I bought twice. I bought that on Steam too for the Steam Deck before we got devices like the ROG Ally and shit like that. I bought Cyberpunk twice. Well, actually, no, I got a review copy for that. I bought The Witcher on Steam again because they did the cross save thing.
Mm.
And Witcher obviously isn't on the Xbox Store on PC. So I suppose with games that do have sort of cross save support and a long tail, is in like they have a lot of content and people want to play them repeatedly, like Baldur's Gate. Like you can play Baldur's Gate repeatedly in so many different ways. People just make like new runs every time they drop an update. It's like, oh, we've added these new fucking features, you know. We're gonna give you a reason to replay the game again for the millionth time. People will do it for that, I suppose. But how many games are like that? There's not that many, you know. Would I buy a game like Blasphemous, for example? I really want to play Blasphemous on my ROG Ally, or my Lenovo Legion Go, sorry. I really want to play a lot of these 2D games on the go. But so many of them don't support Play Anywhere. So the one I've been playing is Hollow Knight because it does support Play Anywhere. You got games like Ori supports Play Anywhere. I feel especially like I don't know why an indie game wouldn't support it. And I think a lot of them just don't even know it's there, you know. We often see like people on Twitter reach out to devs and like, would you consider putting Play Anywhere on this? And literally the dev comes back with, oh, never heard of it, you know. So I think this GDC blowout is at least partially aimed at educating devs about like, hey, we've got this feature, you might want to use it.
Mm.
It boosts engagement according to our figures, give it a chance, you know, that kind of stuff. So hopefully it leads to some uptick, but we're getting a lot out of Japan in that.
Yeah, we definitely are. Cause wasn't like Silent Hill F just rated, or is an Xbox Play Anywhere game? Most recent
Looks
one.
like it.
Thought so, yeah.
Yep.
And that's already been rated by the ESRB, which makes me think, is the game coming soon? Like, you're not getting rated at these things unless you're releasing somewhat soon. You know, the ESRB ain't rating a game that's releasing in 2026, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would imagine Silent Hill F is this year at some point.
I hated Konami for years, and I feel like I'm gonna have to eventually give them their flowers.
Yeah,
because if Silent Hill F is
2
good,
remake, the Metal Gear Solid Delta, and Silent Hill F, Konami back up, bro.
Yeah, if Silent Hill F's good, and it does look good, I think it does look like it's gonna be good.
I mean, you of course
I'm gonna be like, shit.
Assume that Metal Gear Solid Delta is gonna be good, right? Because it looks like,
yeah.
I mean, it's Metal Gear Solid, so it's Metal Gear Solid 3.
And if they can make that work, I mean, remake all the fucking games.
Yeah.
I will literally take all of those games remade. And I know people complain and bitch about remakes and stuff, but I don't give a shit. Remake all the Metal Gear Solids, and I will play them all again, and I will love them again, as long as they're good remakes. Like Silent Hill 2 remake, fantastic. And yes, I haven't finished it yet, but even just like you can see how good it is just from like the first few hours.
Yeah.
I'm so happy Bloober Team sort of proved me wrong, I guess. I love when that happens.
Yeah.
When it's like when you get proven, when your cynicism gets proven wrong.
Love it, because I also was the same way. I was like, Bloober Team doing Silent Hill 2? Yeah, right. And then, okay, you shut me up real fast. Now I'm actually looking forward to their next game, Chronos.
Yeah, that looks really good too.
Resident Evil in space, or Resident Evil Dead Space. I'm like, okay, if we're gonna do that, all right. And then, which one would you rather have them remake, Silent Hill 1 or 3?
I think you have to do 1 next.
I think you have to do 1, right?
I don't think you can do 3 without doing 1, because they're sort of really intertwined. And then you know what? Fuck it, remake 4.
Oh, remake The Room, huh? Oh, interesting.
Do it. Like, I think the Room had a great concept, but I think the execution was just not great. So if they could like make the room good, I think that'd be sick. It also had a pretty good ending, if I remember right.
Yeah.
I remember thinking as a kid, I was like, oh shit, at the ending, even though I hated the gameplay. Those invincible ghosts, what were they thinking? What the hell were they thinking with that shit?
I don't know.
Reminds me of that one section in The Evil Within with the guy who just won't die and just keeps following you around. Oh god, I hated that section so bad. I think that section is why like completing The Evil Within is a rare achievement. And I think it's because of that section. The Evil Within with
Could
that
be.
fucking dude.
Knights of Republic, the KOTOR remake is still happening, Jez. Apparently.
Oh yeah.
Saber said, still working on it. I mean, because originally the game was a PlayStation timed exclusive with Aesper, and then I guess it fell apart. They moved it to Saber, although I don't know if there's any more involvement on Sony's side. Which, I don't know. Did you ever play the original KOTOR?
Oh yeah, I love it. And I actually played it many years after the fact. I played it on my 360. Did I play on my Xbox One? Nah, I think I played on my 360 with the Xbox 360 backwards compatibility.
Mm.
And I sort of had this sort of devastating audio bug, but I endured through that audio bug with the emulator. And I loved it, yeah. I somehow managed to avoid all the spoilers my entire life. Because there's a pretty major spoiler in that game. But I somehow managed to avoid all of it, and then I got the full force of the plot twists. And I was like, man,
I love
this
that.
is just
And
fantastic.
I always did wonder how, if you were going to remake this right now in this day and age, what would that look like? Well, you probably would ditch turn-based, I would imagine. Or maybe you would keep it, but I'm very curious to see if when that game comes out, if it still comes out, what platforms will it release on? Does Sony have still anything to do with it? A lot of questions to be had, but I'm kind of cool. I mean, Saber, they just released what, Warhammer? Warhammer 2, Space Marine 2. Because I always get like Warhammer and Sumo always kind of mixed up. I'm pretty sure it's Saber, but I mean, Warhammer Space Marine 2 was excellent. We know the third's in development, so them still working on Knights of the Republic is cool.
They also confirmed they're doing Space Marine 3.
Yeah, I just said that, yeah.
Which is
awesome.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Space Marine 3. Did you watch the short from the Prime series, Secret Level? Space Marine short? Oh, bro, you have to. I don't recommend watching all the episodes. There's like a handful that are good, and then like the rest are pretty bad. But I would definitely at least watch the Warhammer one. It's probably the best one. I'd watch the Sifu one. I thought was pretty good. I'd watch the Pac-Man one just because it's a different take on Pac-Man. I'm trying to think what other one was really good. The Armored Core one with Keanu Reeves I thought was really good as well. So, but if there's one you watch, at least watch the Warhammer one. Because same character, right, from Space Marine. So it's kind of like a prequel in a way, I guess, I think. Or at least a backstory. But it's really cool. Well, anyways, I think it's time to hit some Patreon questions. I know it's getting late for Jez since we started 2 hours later. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. We got some Patreon stuff we're going to answer now. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the show. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Make sure you check out our sponsors for this episode. We got Surfshark. Link in the description. It's also pinned in the comments for like 86% off 2 years with the VPN.
That is a monstrously good deal.
It's a pretty good deal. And we also have we got the energy drinks, the gaming drinks for XP Gaming. Links in the description for that. Use code XB2 to get 15% off. So Thank you to both. And let's get over to the awesome Patreon members. Let's see what they got to say. We have Sierra11 Kevin, who says, "Hi, Rand and Jez. As always, appreciate you both. If the Xbox handheld PC is potentially being subsidized, could that be in part to set a price expectation of the next-gen Xbox handheld? Also, do you think it would be announced at the Xbox Showcase or one of just other Summerfest shows during the week? I think it's during a Jeff show since it's a partner device and a niche audience for it. Thoughts on both? So let's talk about when they would reveal it, right? Obviously they didn't reveal it at GDC because I know some people thought maybe they would, and that would launch relatively soon. Doesn't seem like that's happening. So then, of course, your next thought goes to, Summer Games Fest, whether it's at Xbox's show or whether it's at a Jeff show. Maybe it makes more sense at a Jeff show than it does at like an Xbox showcase.
What's this for?
The Project Keenan. Like, where do you think they would reveal it?
Maybe they invite press and do sort of an embargo kind of thing for it.
Yeah, they could do that. But I mean, they could do that at Summer Games Fest, right? Since the press is going to be there, you bring the devices and have people give hands on, and then.
Yeah, but they're gonna want hardware press to look at this, tech press.
Okay.
I think like they're probably doing an event at Microsoft headquarters for this kind of thing.
Okay.
But I don't know.
So do you think there's a chance it gets revealed before the June showcase then?
I think so, yeah.
With like hands-on previews and stuff like that, like articles and videos. So. Okay, fair enough.
Very possible.
Because that makes some good sense to me. What about the handheld PC potentially being subsidized, and could that be in part to set a price expectations for next-gen Xbox handheld?
I think it will be subsidized to some degree because I don't think you compete with Steam Deck unless it has to be subsidized. Otherwise, there's no point in existing. Because like if it's not cheaper than ROG Ally, like why even make it in the first place, right? But I think like it has to be to some degree subsidized. But I don't know exactly by how much, but at the same time, I don't think that necessarily informs us.
Yeah,
what
their Xbox handheld would be 2 years later, right? Yeah, I agree with that. I don't like it. Let's just say it launches at $499 and $599. I don't think you can be like immediately being like, well, that's what the handheld's going to launch at. Yeah. I mean, it very well could, but I don't think it's like set in stone. Not going to happen in 2 years.
No.
Silas says, good day. As previously discussed within this podcast, some are ridiculously speculating that GTA will clock in at 100 MSRP. Well, how about this prediction? Would it be possible for Rockstar, in a desire to line investors' pockets even further, keep the single-player game at 70, but charge a monthly subscription fee for GTA Online? Currently, they do have an optional subscription for Online, and maybe they were testing the waters. I mean, if people pay $14.99 a month now for a 20-year-old game with Xbox 360 level graphics and still sell $100 dinosaur mounts too, is GTA Online going with an MMO subscription model out of the question? Interesting.
I think, isn't there already a subscription?
There is. I mean, Silas mentioned this. Like, there already is an optional subscription for Online, but what if they made it mandatory? And instead of charging $100, you charge $15 a month.
I think they will keep the same model.
Okay.
I think you eliminate a huge swath of the market if you don't have a free thing. The only reason World of Warcraft does it is because they've always done it, and that's their business model now.
But if they do keep the model that they've always had, which is we're going to sell you the game for $70 or $100 and the multiplayer is paid for, doesn't that kind of go against the current industry thinking anyways? Because all the big multiplayer games are free, but GTA is still gonna... I mean, I guess you could say Call of Duty is the same thing, right? Like, they have a yearly game with the multiplayer that you have to pay for, but Warzone's free. So Rockstar selling the game at $70 or $100 is kind of going against current trends. But then again, this is GTA is the unicorn, right? They could probably do things and get away with it that other companies can't. Which is why I don't like this whole idea of GTA being $100 and then other publishers being like, well, since they did it, we'll do it too. Right? Like,
I don't think it's a fly.
I think GTA could be $100. I honestly think it could. And you know what? You can yell at me all you want. If GTA 6 is $100, I'm still buying that motherfucker day one, right?
No,
I don't
Rand, you're
care.
destroying the industry, bro.
Apparently, I would. I don't care. However, I dispute the notion that simply because GTA, the biggest franchise in the world, well, I guess you could debate, like, is Minecraft the biggest or is Pokemon the biggest or whatever, but probably the most anticipated game now for X number of years. Just because they do it doesn't mean Xbox could put their games at 100, or PlayStation could put their games at 100, or EA could put their games at 100, or Ubisoft could. I thoroughly reject that. And I know people like to think like, oh, well, executives are complete morons and they're out of touch, and they'll see, oh, they did it, so why not me? Like, I just don't see that scenario. I think like they're a unicorn and they can get away with it because of how big the brand is. But if they did, let's just imagine a scenario where it's $100 and then suddenly, all right, well, Gears Perfect Dark's $100, and Xbox is like, all of our games are $100 now, and then PlayStation's like, all of our games are now $100, and EA and everybody's like, all of our games are now $100. I'll tell you what, I'll be buying less games for sure, because a lot of the games now aren't even worth the $70 they charge. No. I guess you could say that would make Game Pass an even more enticing bargain if every game was now $100. They'd be like, wow, wait, $20 is pretty cheap to access this stuff. But I also don't think the companies are that dumb. I don't think they'll see the success of GTA at $100 and then think to themselves, well, gee, Star Wars Outlaws, $100 is that's the way to go. No, because you're just going to speed run the decline, and that's kind of how I feel about that. I think GTA can get away with it.
You hand off more power to single-player game, free-to-play games if you do.
Yeah, more people are just going to play free-to-play. More people might even decide to check out a subscription service, you know? And we already know, like, people already said, hey, Ubisoft, here's Assassin's Creed Shadows at $70, but we've already seen how quickly Ubisoft games can and will go on sale. If you want to play it but you don't have $70, you could probably wait a month and that shit might be $50. So, and especially if you think you're going to sell this game for $100 and it doesn't sell and you're going to drop price really quickly. So, I don't really see the industry following on that because I don't think the games are worth that much. Now, that may be a naive take because other people will be like, oh man, the amount of actual playtime we get out of these things is excessive, so of course they're priced in line, but it's hard to say like what games that have released that I would have paid $100 for, you know. I mean, I'd have my certain few, but yeah, I don't think the industry will follow that trend. And I
don't think so either.
I do think Grand Theft Auto is going to have a version that is going to be like $150. I mean, you already see it now. Early access stuff, shark cards, like you can sort of see the packaging within about how they could be like, well, it's $70, but if you give us $150, maybe you get a week early access to multiplayer or something, or the campaign, and it comes with the shark card, and now like the standard purchase is $150, and they essentially raise the price anyways. So we'll see. Pat Rock says, I notice when Silksong has any news, it gets catapulted into social media discourse. What if Silksong gets delayed to 2026 and Xbox puts it in the next developer direct? Do you think it would make it the most watched dev direct yet? Yeah, so why is Silksong in the news again? Because Xbox mentioned it in one of their posts, right?
Mentioned it in a blog post. Like, it's kind of become a meme in the Silksong community where it's like, oh god, Silksong mentioned, and it's like, because that's all they've got like to hope for, right?
Well, it does have the Game Pass deal, which I think that was 2 years ago now, right? 2 shows ago, so 2022, I want to say, and I think 2023 or maybe it was last year, where like Silksong got a store page and like Xbox employees were like eye emojiing all over the place, and then nothing happened out of that. I sort of agree with Pat Rock where if if they locked in a date and say it's next year, or even if it was a partner preview, because I did get a couple messages about, hey, how come where's the March partner preview? Because they did a March partner preview last year, and it's almost the end of March and there ain't nothing here. So I think clearly it got delayed. So whether that comes in next month or May, I don't know. But yeah, if they advertised that Silksong was going to be there, then yeah, it probably would be heavily watched. But it would have to be advertised beforehand, right? Otherwise, I don't know. I mean, but then at the same time, I think people are going to be expecting it to show up at the Nintendo show in April for the Switch 2. Right? So, because I think it was originally revealed there at one of the Nintendo Directs. We'll see, though.
I mean, if it was at the Xbox show, that'd be like some serious, crazy virality, but...
It should, yeah.
It's... The whole thing with Silksong is that it's kind of like, I suppose, an auteur kind of culture. A bit like Ori in the Blind Forest. Where it's just Ori in the Will-O-Wisp launched hot because they wanted to keep cramming more content into it. You know? But
we have a Pure Shooter who says,
"Hi,
both."
Finished?
What?
Will it ever be finished, Silksong?
I mean, it'll eventually be finished.
Eventually, you have to ship it.
Pure Shooter says, hi both. I've heard a fair amount of conversation lately about the delay in Activision games hitting Xbox in terms of the older catalog. Older COD games, Singularity, etc. One thing I rarely hear mentioned is that Game Pass offers partner devs and publishers not just guaranteed money, but also additional exposure. It would be a major disservice to the other partners if their games were suddenly buried in a mass Activision drop. So I think that is also something they have to be mindful of. That said, it would be good for them to pick up the cadence of older games being included in the service. Any news or thoughts on how these older games might be introduced into Game Pass?
I think staggering them is probably the obvious one.
Yeah.
But we've also heard from devs in the past who are kind of like, oh, the Game Pass money's dried up. You know, we're not being offered Game Pass deals as much as we used to. I think part of that is Microsoft being careful about the curation, because when they have so many of their own games to potentially put in the service, there is that aspect to consider. But I think it'll change over time. You know, as sometimes I think we had this sort of, I think it's still going on to some degree, where the pandemic lagged some games for a long time, and then a load of games launched all at once. Like, there's still games delayed by the pandemic, like Contraband probably being one at top of mind, right? Contraband's clearly been delayed since a million years because of the pandemic, and it'll launch eventually, but it's just been that long because of the pandemic. And how many other games are just sort of, they had their launches staggered because of that kind of stuff. So I think eventually we will get to a point where there is more space for more games and more indie games and all that kind of thing. And I think when we get to that point, you probably will see Microsoft tap in Activision a bit more and the back catalog. But it's like I said earlier on the show, there is this sort of aspect of Microsoft is working through it from licensing perspective and all that other kind of stuff. But I think it's just a coalescence of different reasons kind of holding up what the back catalog drops in Activision on Xbox backwards compatibility or Game Pass looks like, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. I mean, I pretty much agree with you. I think if they're gonna roll it out, it's gonna be very slow, and I could definitely see some people in there being like, "Yeah, we don't want to be overshadowed by the other stuff, so please take it carefully."
Yeah.
A good old
I was a
Colin.
bit distracted there. I was dealing with Troll.
Hello, Rand Jez. The Switch 2 launch event is only a matter of a fortnight away, which is true. I think it's April 2nd. And there are strong signs that Microsoft will be a large third-party contributor. However, do you think that the Xbox game reveals will be part of the Nintendo event, or will they be an Xbox announcement in tandem with or after the Nintendo event?
So what game is this, sorry?
This is about the
Microsoft's
Switch
games
talk.
going on Switch.
Yeah, like we'll do. Good
Will they
old
put it
Kyle
on an
wants to
Xbox
know.
show or work with? Yeah.
Yeah, do you think we'll see game reveals as part of the Nintendo event, or basically will they announce them outside of the event, being like, we're also bringing our game to Switch too? You know what I mean?
I think they'll be in the partner event if I had to guess. I don't know why you bury that lead. Um, Also Microsoft wants to sell those games and wants to be
Yeah.
they want to control. They want to be the biggest presence on all the storefronts. So like the amount of control they command on the PlayStation storefront is undeniable right now. With the Call of Duty and Minecraft and all that kind of stuff. They want to do the same for Nintendo. So I think like as long as the Nintendo feels like it's within their interest, you know, I especially think with Call of Duty at the very least within their interest, or Diablo and stuff like that. I think we easily would see those games in Nintendo show, but
Yeah. I don't know anything, but I'm expecting at least one thing of Xbox to show up there. I would be shocked if assuming this is gonna have third party stuff there, because I don't know what the April 2nd show is gonna be. Is it gonna be like all first party? Is it gonna be going over like the system's features, and then they'll have a third party thing later on? So I guess it depends. If this is all just first party stuff, obviously clearly no, and we'll have to wait for the partner direct. But at one of these directs, at least I'm expecting something Xbox related. Whatever game it would be, I don't know. Because I do think they treat PlayStation a little differently. Because PlayStation had their state of play where they could easily have thrown in Forza or Indiana Jones or, whatever else. And they decided not to, and they were just tweets. So I maybe you still think there's a bridge too far for them, even though they're going to put their logos in their showcases where like, hey, next time we see, whatever game, Gears Collection, it'll probably have Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch 2 logos depending on the platforms it comes on. But I still think maybe they look at like, oh, we don't want our game in the PlayStation show, but I don't think they would have any qualms about being in the Nintendo show.
yeah, maybe.
So I'm at
Which is
least
kind of weird.
expecting one. Well,
I mean,
different markets. I'll die on the hill saying that if Xbox was only supporting the Switch and not PlayStation, then I think a lot of the hysteria would never have happened. Like if you go back to 2024 and it was just like, we're releasing these games on the Switch, I think, but they weren't doing anything with PlayStation, I think people are cool with it. People are like, yeah, you're on the Switch, cool. Yeah, that's cool. I don't care.
yeah, but Rand, Satya needs a new yacht, bro.
I know Satya needs a new yacht. I know. I'm just saying. That's how I feel. That if it was just a Switch, people would have been like, yeah, whatever, that's fine, it's cool. I have Switch. Oh, I can play it handheld. It's PlayStation that gets under people's nerves, or it feels that there's
feels like too much overlap.
Yeah. We have Rave Damos. Gentlemen, milk duds or Mike and Ike's? Secondly, here in New Jersey, geese are universally despised. They make a home within beautiful fields and leave their poop everywhere. What animal or bird or rodent is an irritant in your area? Happy weekend. Definitely.
That's an interesting question.
Definitely milk duds for me, which, I mean, I guess it depends on the Mike and Ike, but I've always preferred milk duds. In the area.
Don't.
What rodents would in the area would
I think pigeons and seagulls in the UK are a popular one.
the thing is a kid, and I think they all died out, but I remember as a kid, crows everywhere. You know what I'm talking about? Well, maybe not because you're not from here, but we had there's big trees, and I always remember walking to school. Certain trees would just be infested with crows, and then at nighttime or whatever, or during the daytime, you could hear the crows. They'd all leave the trees, and then I think they would even sit on power lines and stuff. But now, if you look, there's no more crows. And I think they all died out. whether it was from the bird flu or whatever. But yeah, if you had asked my younger self, I would have said crows. Because you'd be walking under a canopy of trees, and you would just hear the squawking, and you'd look up, and there's just crows looking down at you.
I love crows, man. They're really smart, you know.
I know.
They're smart.
They're supposed to be, yeah. Supposed to be quite smart. Or is it the ravens that are quite smart?
No, all corvids are smart, man. All corvids are smart.
Otherwise, because I don't think we have there's no like rodent problems or anything. It would have been crows, and we do have some geese at the like not like a lake, but there's like a little small lake or whatever. There's some geese that fly around, but they're not a big deal. But it would be the crows. But they're not here anymore, so I guess nothing.
I got a really funny story about a bird, actually.
Okay.
Since he asked. So me and my girlfriend went on vacation a few years ago to Seaside.
Mm-hmm.
My girlfriend lives really far inland, like really, really far inland. There's no seagulls here. So like England is full of seagulls all the time because it's an island, right? But I was surprised to discover that in the deep south of Germany, there are no seagulls because there's no sea.
Right.
So my girlfriend's quite unfamiliar with seagulls. And I was chilling on the beach and she went to buy a crepe, right? From a crepe stand, with some chocolate and bananas in or something like that. And I sent her a text saying, protect it from the seagulls. Because I knew that seagull would come down and try and eat it. Because they do that, because they're little bastards. And as she was looking at that text, a seagull swooped down and stole her crepe. Yeah, man. It was like a comedy skit. Really funny, but yeah. Seagulls are super annoying. Pigeons too, man.
Rats with wings, as they call them, right?
Yeah. Well, they can be pretty cute.
OMG Turtle 73, who says, hello to both you fine gentlemen. Nothing Xbox related, just wanted to ask, how were your weeks, and are you looking forward to the weekend? Appreciate you both, Turtles. My week was pretty good. I've been playing Assassin's Creed a bunch. I finished 2 books. I finished one of my fantasy books I was reading, A Time of Courage, which is a sequel series to The Faithful and the Fallen. And last night I finished a science fiction book, The Third Rule of Time Travel, which I liked quite a bit. I wouldn't say I loved it, and I wouldn't give it 5 stars, but 300 pages, and it was written in one of those styles where you just really, really fast. And as far as like TV, Severance finale was amazing, and I hope we don't have to wait 3 years to see a resolution to it. And even though there was a couple episodes here in season 2 that were like, "What is happening, man?" The finale nailed it.
Ben Stiller said it wasn't gonna.
I know he did say that. So, and they did renew it for season 3. So, the ending, if you've seen the ending, the Severance season 2, whew, man, can't wait to see where that goes.
I haven't watched it. Obviously, is it? It's on Apple TV. Did you say?
It's on Apple TV. There's also a report that came out that Apple loses $1 billion a year on Apple TV.
I'm not surprised.
But yeah.
What's the show actually about exactly? In brief.
So it's a show about these people that work for a company in the sub-basement that are severed. It's kind of, imagine, you know how people talk about work-life balance? You need work-life balance? Well, this company created this procedure where it splits your memories and it creates a whole new person. So while you're in the floor, they're what's called an innie, and they have no memories of their life previously, and they don't know what's going on. And then the person leaves, and then it's an outie. It's the real person. So they don't know what's going on at work, and then the person at work has no idea what's going on in the personal life. And
what's the point of that?
Well, you see, that's where the inner relationships of what's going on with the innies and I don't want to explain because almost everything is a spoiler. It's just, it's
Why would you want to split your personality like that?
I mean, because you look at like a free job. Imagine you created. You go to work, but you're not actually at work. You're just sleeping, and then all of a sudden.
Oh, so is the outie aware that they've done this?
Yes.
And the
Obviously,
innie
it's
isn't
the
aware?
Audis' decision to do it. They have something surgically implanted into their brain, and when they go to work, it's like they're sleeping, and then someone else takes over, like a new consciousness. Because the outies and innies, they're the same, but they have different sort of quirks. So like they're real people.
Do the innies believe that they go home at the end of it?
No, they know they don't. They only exist like
Aren't they mad?
at work. No, well, they're actually kind of like children in a way. But I mean, there's mysteries.
Okay.
There's the mystery of like, what's the company Lumen doing? There's the mystery, So I don't want to really like look. It's worth watching because I think it's like the best show currently on television, and you got 2 seasons you could watch. But I mean, it does have the mystery box thing like Lost, where company's doing something and there's a lot of mystery involved about certain stuff and certain characters. But it's an amazing show. Absolutely amazing. I think you'd like it. So there's that.
Check it out when it comes to Netflix.
Which, yeah, okay, that'll never come. And then there's I watched season 4 of Wheel of Time. Season 3 is upon us, and I know I have my issues with the Wheel of Time show. We all know Wheel of Time is my favorite thing ever, but the show has always kind of been disappointing, especially the first 2 seasons. Like, it has its moments, but then it's like, this isn't what I wanted at all.
Is it better or worse than the Halo TV show?
I never watched the Halo TV show, so I can't really tell you.
Oh, you didn't?
But I know.
I thought you did.
But it's reviewed better than the Halo TV show. So
I thought you did watch the Halo TV show. I'm disappointed now.
So season 3 of Wheel of Time is starting to get into some really juicy content, like that kind of takes the books to the next level. And the episode last night, or 2 nights ago, was stellar. And honestly, as someone who's read the books, how long ago now? 27 years ago, 26 years ago, whatever it was. There was a certain scene in the books that I've been waiting for 25 years to see, and I finally got to see it. And they actually did it justice, which I was extremely happy about. Because I never thought we'd see it, and 2, when they started doing this show, I never thought we'd actually see it done justice. But it was. And I was extremely happy with it. Now, I don't know where the rest of the season's going to go, but this season 3 has been a significant improvement over the first 2, and it feels like it's finally hitting its stride, which is a shame because I feel like they're going to cancel the show anyways. Like, the first 2 seasons just weren't good enough, and I think any new fans that maybe it had kind of dropped the show. So I just have this feeling that this season's going to be really good, and they're going to be like, yeah, we don't have enough people anymore, and the show's expensive, so you're canceled. Like, canceled right when it was like, all right, we finally got this shit nailed down, and yeah, so.
Like the Warcraft movie. Like, I quite enjoyed the Warcraft movie, but I understand why people didn't, because you kind of had to know the lore to really get the most out of it, because they had to cut so much content, because everything needed so much explanation. That they had to cut like an hour out of it, and it's like, no, it's like you don't know what the hell's going on.
Sometimes it has, you need to explain a lot, and also
that's why the Fallout TV show was so impressive, because they really nailed that sort of like the thread the needle of bringing along new people for the ride, while also
like, look, Wheel of Time's got all this lore that needs to be. You don't really need to explain any of the lore in Fallout, really. But, like, Wheel of Time is set in a different world. Like, Fallout's set in our world. Wheel of Time is, like, magic. And it's, like...
I suppose.
It's, like, you need to explain the magic. You need to explain why the women can do it and why the men can't. And, like, there's a lot of things you need to explain about Wheel of Time and the lore stuff, which is important to the overall plot. where like the lore stuff is not important to Fallout. For a lot of people, Fallout's just like a post-apocalyptic show, which Last of Us is a post-apocalyptic show. And
I suppose as well, it's like with Lucy, she's kind of like new to the overworld. So like she's learning about things like the new California Republic and things like that.
Which aren't, so it's like you can throw those things in there, but it's not like you don't need to spend all this time explaining stuff.
Yeah.
It's just like all you need to know is like world's ended. There's some people that live here, and that's really it. And they go out into this world, and boom. But there's a lot more stuff you need to explain with Wheel of Time.
Fair enough.
Which I think bogs down some of the storytelling because they got to do info dumps and stuff. But anyways, I'm looking forward to the weekend. Colt's in Chicago. Probably going to meet up with him tomorrow, so that should be fun.
You could do a XB2 plus 1 live show with Colt.
Yeah, we could. Sick and Tired says, what's your idea of a game setting that hasn't been done yet in games? I had two. One that is now being done, which was set on an oil rig. And the other one set during ancient Incan and Mayan times. Imagine a game version of Apocalypto. I'm surprised Assassin's Creed hasn't done anything like that yet.
I've kind of got one in my head, which I don't know if has actually been done anywhere, even in a movie or whatever. Have you ever read the Bible, Rand?
Yes, I've read the Bible.
You know the Book of Revelation?
Yes, I know the Book of Revelations.
The story of that would make a good movie. With the trumpets and the giant fucking monsters and the
good
dragons.
movie or a good TV I thought he was talking about a game. You're talking about a game setting? It'd be a good game?
Well, yeah, like a game setting too. Like, they did Dante's Inferno, which, which obviously is an amazing game. Like, full classic. Heavily underrated, I think. But I think a lot of this stuff could be potentially adapted to, into a game sort of universe. I think that kind of explored some of it with, what's it called now? Oh shit, what's that game called now? Darksiders. Okay. So Darksiders kind of explores it a little bit. If you've played that. Okay. It's sort of like Darksiders explores like the aftermath of the apocalypse on Earth and, the zombies wandering around. Because it says all kinds of stuff like that, like the dead will roam the earth and shit like that, right? Which is where the whole zombie meme even comes from in the first place. I think Book of Revelation could make a good game or movie. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
What do you think?
I don't really have a location for a game that I've really been like, oh, I wish they made something here. The only place that's like really unexplored is like the bottom of the ocean or like the Mariana Trench.
Shock.
Yeah, but that's still like more in the city, really. I was more talking about.
Have you heard of that indie horror game, Iron Lung?
No.
Not the same, but it's kind of in that vein. Iron Lung is it's like a short indie narrative kind of game where you play as a dude who's been commissioned to investigate a lake on a random planet with a really crappy submarine. At least that's what I can remember of it. And so you're just in this really terrible, clunky, breaking submarine while like there's creepy shit going on outside.
Sick and Tired said like, oh, the oil rig, so like Still Wakes the Deep, and we're talking about now for whatever.
Really good?
I liked it, but I don't think you would like it. But in my mind, all of a sudden, I flashed to James Cameron's The Abyss.
Oh yeah,
and
I like that movie, man.
I mean, I really like that movie too.
People clown on that, but I like that movie.
Maybe like a game there. It's not an oil rig, but it's a structure on the bottom of the ocean. I mean, yeah. I guess then it's like BioShock because it's a city at the end on the ocean. But I always thought like Abyss was like, oh, we're down here. It's like maybe a game set there. But yeah,
Abyss was great. I'm gonna watch that.
Abyss is really good.
I'm gonna see if my girlfriend wants.
And look who it is. We have Mr. Donataku, Mr. Nintendo himself. He says, "What's up, Rand Jez? Long time no chat. I'm only here to complain about your constant disrespect. I'm tired of you guys glazing Elden Ring, Cyberpunk, The Witcher 3, etc. while not having played 3 of the best open world games of all time: Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and not that it isn't trapped in the Wii U anymore, Xenoblade Chronicles X, among the other Xenoblade games as well. Jez, I personally think Xenoblade Chronicles X would be a game you would become engrossed in, but I feel like Tears of the Kingdom is more of a Rand game. It's time for y'all to stop running and embrace who you really are. Rantendo and Nintendo.
Nintendo.
What do you think about that? Have you seen anything from Xenoblade?
I see Gene.
Yeah, I saw Gene posting all this
talk
Xenoblade
about Xenoblade
stuff.
a lot.
Yeah.
It
Is it Xenoblade?
I've actually been Xenoblade, whatever. I have been getting ads for that game as well on Reddit and stuff. It does look good. I'm not gonna deny, but I ain't gonna get a Switch just for one game.
Yeah.
2 games.
And
if they bring them to Xbox, I'll play them. But...
I don't even know if they brought like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom to the Xbox, I probably still wouldn't play them. I just don't care about Zelda. I just don't care about, the thing is, I even own Breath of the Wild, so I could play it if I wanted to hook up my Switch. Maybe it'll be back compat on the Switch 2 and it'll run better or something, but I don't know. I've seen gameplay of it, and Tears of the Kingdom never really impressed me. So I don't know. I don't know where you're coming up with this idea that that's a Rand game, because when I watch it, I'm like, not for me. But we appreciate you, Mr. Nintendo. I know you're excited because April 2nd's coming, and so you're finally going to see your Switch 2 and all the games or whatever. So I'm sure you're buzzing with excitement. Let's see, we got a super chat here from Chris. You can't convince me that the Halo show wasn't a canned Showtime sci-fi show they resurrected and just slapped Halo onto.
Maybe.
Yeah, I wonder how that would fared if it wasn't like a Showtime Paramount Plus thing. Because I think it was originally a Showtime show that they moved to Paramount Plus. And I sort of wonder, like, what would have been like if HBO took the range of Halo, or if Netflix had taken the range of Halo, you know? It's like sometimes like you don't really expect much from a Showtime show. So it's kind of like that was kind of already a bad sign to me, you know? Like out of
Twin Peaks season 3 was Showtime, I think.
Which was?
Twin Peaks season 3.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying Showtime doesn't have great shows. Like Dexter was great, but then Dexter fell off after a bit. And, you know, Yellow Jackets season 1 was really good. And I mean, Showtime does have its shows, but, you know, usually the really great shows come from Apple TV, Netflix, and HBO. And once it wasn't like one of them, it was kind of like, what are my expectations for this? And yeah. Oh, before we get since we're on the video game thing, did you see Ronald Moore, who basically said that Amazon has ordered 2 seasons of God of War? Basically came out and said he tried to play the games but couldn't get through it. And then there's a big thing about like, oh, here's a guy making a game and he doesn't even play through the game. He's making the movie or the TV show based off of it. Oh my God, I'm so worried for God of War. What do you think about that?
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, he basically was like,
he's
like, I'm not a gamer. I tried playing it, but I couldn't. And now people are worried that he's gonna ruin God of War TV show or whatever. So
I mean, hey, maybe.
I mean, Ronald, he's pretty good at what he does. Battlestar Galactica, For All Mankind.
Oh, Battlestar Galactica is fucking amazing.
I mean, he's a good guy to
I actually think Battlestar Galactica is top 5 all time for me.
Battlestar Galactica is pretty amazing.
Rand, Darth Vicious asks,
Mm-hmm.
Ask Rand what scene of Wheel of Time he's referring to, please.
The whole columns section in Ruridian, when Rand walks through the columns, and the history of the Aiel that Rand sees. I've always wondered how that would look on screen, and I guess maybe the columns wasn't what I always pictured, but I mean they pretty much nailed, especially like the last 2 visions, because I've always wondered how those would look, and I think they pretty much nailed it. But that's the scene I'm talking about, like the stuff when Ruridian. pretty good. I was as a book fan who loves the books so much, I was immensely happy with how that episode turned out. So, anyways, I think that's going to be it for us. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't, thank you to Surfshark for sponsoring this episode. Links in the description. You can get 86% off a 2-year plan. It's almost basically free. And if you're looking for some energy drinks, gaming drinks, 4xpgaming.com, code XB2 for 15% off. Links in the description. And if you want to support us on Patreon, you can do so at patreon.com/XB2. And hopefully we'll be back on Tuesday or Wednesday with the Xbox Ultimate, when me and Jez will chat it up with people, which is always a lot of fun. And yeah, until then, I hope you guys have a great weekend. If you're playing Assassin's Creed, I hope you enjoy it. If you're watching Wheel of Time, let me know what you think. And yeah, keep it gaming, guys. Have a good one. Later.
Take care, everybody.